I come to you. All right, let's go. Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Today's Tuesday, December 30th, 364 days in the new year. 1.25 days left. Wow. What a way to end the year tonight with Richard Dolan. We are live from the TruthFunders.com studios right here in Burbank, California. Truth Funders, the #1 crowdfunding platform for paranormal films, research, expeditions, and inventions of the unknown. Going to launch. There's a chance, an outside chance, low and outside, might launch during the show tonight. It's got to. The countdown will be between 9 and 10 p.m. this evening. If not, it's going to launch without us. That'll be a drag. I wanted to be here. Make it official. For KJCR and the Dark Matter Radio Network, I am your oh-so-humble host, Jimmy Church. What is up? This is it. This is the last show of the year. Wow, what a year it was. Big salute to the proud men and women in uniform all around the world fighting the good fight, defending that Constitution of ours and the right to freedom of speech, and me doing this show right now. You don't like it? Shoot me an email, jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. I promise I'll write you back and set you straight. All right, let's go. Everybody ready? Follow us on Twitter @JChurchRadio, #DMRadioNet. Going to be a great show tonight. We're going to do Fader Night tonight. Haven't done Fader Night in 2 weeks. Going to make up for some lost ground. And it is our last show of the year, so we're going to go out with a bang. Got a big pile of stuff. We literally cleaned out the junk drawer today. Got a bunch of really cool stuff. Got a couple of Clifford Stone DVDs, CDs, complete collection of the Clifford Stone files. Going to give that away. I've got a copy of the Bridgewater Triangle, still sealed. Most DVDs we send out here are open because I watch them first. Got an autographed Clifford Stone book, eyes only. Got a copy of The Emissary by Patricia Corey. Check that out. And one copy, autographed, Alien Crash at Roswell by Jesse Marcel. Big, oversized color book. That's a book for guys like me. All right, so we'll be giving, now those are all to first-time callers. 323-825-5045. Phone lines are closed. Don't call in. Call-in number is 323-825-5045. Write that down. When I announce it, bang the lines. First-time callers only, unless your name is Debbie, but I'll get to that. All right, podcast, little delayed today, but it's I think it's up. If not, it'll be up shortly. Slight technical issues with the FTPs and servers and stuff like that. Nothing to do with us. I think it has something to do with the wind and the storms outside. We lost our phones today here at the studio. Pretty strange. We thought it was some of the electronics, the phone interfaces. Turned out to be the phones were down, but they're back. Just in time for Richard Dolan. Actually, we're going to do Richard on Skype tonight for the first time. He's always on some secret phone line somewhere, but tonight it'll be crisp and clear. He'll be broadcasting to us from his studio in New York. All right, let's go. Faders.org. It's free. It's fun. Become a Fadernaut today. You want to figure out how that works? Come follow us on Twitter. You got to come hang out. You got to get vetted. You got to get processed by a fellow Fadernaut. That's how it works. You got to be admitted and vetted. But come hang out with us at JChurch Radio. That's what you want to do. #DMRadioNet. Come hang out in the sandbox for a little bit. Show your colors. Make sure you're worthy. And then we'll get you your Fadernaut badge. Don't you want one? Don't you want one? Michael Anderson just tweeted, first-time callers, you need this movie. He got it. he got his copy. It's a really cool documentary, Bridgewater Triangle. I got a mug. I think I have a shirt here too. I think they sent me a wife beater, a tank top, extra small. You should see me in it. One day I will take a selfie. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. You know, if you're a fan of the show, you do want to go over to Facebook and like us there. That's where I try to hang out the most throughout the day. For some reason, I don't know if anybody else has this problem, but on my phone, the Twitter app, you know, that you download, it keeps frigging logging me out. And I can't log in with my password, which I can do all day long on the computer. But that stupid Twitter app, man. Ugh. I have to go to I can go to Twitter online. It all works. That Twitter app, I don't know what the deal is, man. I can't figure that out. Anybody got any tips? I should be calling Jack Dorsey, complaining. All right, I'm ready. We got oh man, I'm so excited. Richard Dolan. The thing is about Richard, for me, is he's the kind of person, he's the kind of book and the documentary that I like to read and watch. He is just straightforward, let's lay it out there and let's talk about it kind of guy. And so excited. And so for ufology, certainly in the last 10 years, he has really opened up the eyes of a lot of people. And I'm really looking forward to Richard being on with us tonight. I have no idea what we're going to talk about. I really don't. We're going to start where we start. We're going to end where we end. But it's a great way to end the year. What is that? No small shirt selfies. I should do it. That would be entertaining. Get that out there on the web. There are certain websites that would love to meme the life out of that one. All right. Email throughout the show, Jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com is what you want to do. You can go over to the website, jimmychurchradio.com. You can do it there. How about them flying Walmarts? I saw that earlier, Davin. I have no clue. JAL Cargo Walnut. Okay, I get that part. But the flying Walmarts part, you're going to have to clue me in, brother. I'm interested. Dennis says, hello from sunny tropical Canada. Hey, you know what? It's like below zero right now here in Burbank. It has been freezing the last couple of days. All right. You know what to do over on TweetDeck. Fade to black. It's F2BQ, hashtag F2BQ. You got any questions? You can do that throughout the show. Hit me there. Any word on SIG? No, we haven't heard from SIG. Thank you for that, Gene. It's a private matter. Nonetheless, I have not heard from SIG yet. I am sure that he is having a good time. He is heavily medicated right now. He is where we all want to be. I promise you that. So there you go. All right. Lou, everybody's checked in here. Okay, so I can take my eyes off Twitter for a second. Let's get to some email. Let's see. This is from Ben Miller, and I saw this video today, Ben. Interesting. And I also got a couple of comments, and then somebody else shot me an email right after you about this video. He says, what's your take on the Egyptian artifacts found in the former home of William Flinders Petrie, the world-famous British Egyptologist of the first half of the 20th century? The artifacts look so good that they seem faked. They depict large-eyed ETs and a spaceship directing a beam of energy down to the ground from the air. Yes, it does. Among other things, Petrie also had mummified bodies of the aliens in the same hidden area of the house. This type of discovery would blow the lid off alien visitation and disclosure. It would be great to hear what Graham Hancock and Robert Bivol and others think of this claim. If you haven't seen the video, I tweeted it out earlier. Oh, somebody just hit it right there. Thank you, Mark. That's a pic. Somebody hit Twitter real quick with the video on YouTube. It's he had like a hidden room behind this bookshelf. Looks like in his library, in his office, in his home. Pretty cool. I want one of those. And in there, was kind of tossed around and stuff. But there was this I don't know if it's a mask or if it was an actual sculpture of a head. And, with the Egyptian headdress with the stripes. And when you look at this, it's obviously an alien with these hieroglyphs that come down on each side of the headdress. And you look at it, okay, so I got a bunch of email, two, not a bunch. I got 2 emails about this also today, debunking it, or not necessarily debunking it as much as just saying we should actually take a closer look at this, that it looks aged and so forth, artificially. But go look at it. It's a pretty crazy video. So I published it today, sent it out there, and I don't know. Michael Anderson just said pick your video, post the video, because the videos is what is interesting. I don't know what to make of it. Certainly, there it is. Mark Dunbar just popped it up. I'm going to retweet it now so everybody can go check it out. There you go. Follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can go and check it out. It's pretty crazy. Now, certainly, if it's real, it's the most significant probably discovery of all time. It's a pretty interesting video. Usually, when you look at stuff like this and it's too good to be true, what is it's too good to be true? But it looks interesting. So I would like everybody's comments on it. So go check it out. Got another email from Mike. I don't know where Mike is from, but he starts off the email with this line. Indonesia and Malaysia are not in the same place. Well, I know that. I never said that. And I started reading the rest of the email, and he went on, Jimmy, you need to fact check. You don't know what you're talking about. Your head's getting too big. I used to have more fun listening to your show. I don't anymore. So good luck to you, whatever. And I'm not into embarrassing people, and I don't want to take his email apart or anything like that. But when he starts off the email like this, Indonesia and Malaysia are not in the same place. Well, look, check this out. This is an indication. When I read the email, it's people that want to hear what they want to hear. They're not hearing what is really being said, because I know exactly what I said on the show last night. And my feelings with everything were obviously changed this morning when the news came out of the bodies that were discovered. I'll get to all that in a second. There in the Java Sea. And it's kind of funny for me to say, well, all is well there. It's funny that is what is making us feel good, is that actually the plane was not lost, and it's there, it crashed. I'll get to all that in a second. But Mike, man, listen. If you want to listen to the show, listen to the show. I say it all the time. There's too many people out there that don't listen and talk. You need to listen before you talk. That's all, man. Okay, there's no fact checking that needs to be done on this show. There's plenty of that done. I'm not here to be the end all, be all of anything. I'm a guy that's here trying to figure out and learn and discover. And when all of the news reports, and we're not getting any facts coming out of Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, anything else, China, and we're not getting any information, and all we got is what we have to go on, which is the plane is missing. We don't know where it's at. That's when I raise the flags. All right, so moving on. Debbie wrote me an email. She says this. She says, okay, I want to know what I have to do to get something from one of my favorite guests, the sincere and emotion-filled Clifford Stone. Although you had just started giving away items to first-time callers, she's talking about months ago. When I called in, for some reason, that didn't include me, and my first call lasted about 20, 30 minutes. That's not fair. She says, secondly, although I emailed you, you never mentioned my birthday last week on the 23rd. Yes, I did. But she says, until Les kept telling you to say something. I doubt you would have seen his tweet if you had not lost David Wilcock and had a couple of minutes of airtime to fill. Oh, Debbie. So, can I be in the consideration of one of these items? Please, 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 please. Debbie, after an email like that, what do you want from me? Check this out. Debbie, I have what you need. I have what you want. It's right here. Got your fix sitting right here in the studio. But you got to earn it. You got to call in tonight. You got to get in. I will hold off all the Clifford Stone stuff until the end, but you got to call in, Deb. You got to make it happen. I can't cheat. What if I would have read this email and not given something away to all of the callers that came in and I held something back for you, Deb? And Deb, you and I are special. I get that. I do, Deb. But you got to call in. You got to call in front of all the fader knots. Debbie. All right. That's it. That's the rules tonight, Deb. We're going to play by the rules. Got to play by the rules. This is Fade to Black. It's the last show of the year, folks. Taking tomorrow night off. Tonight, Richard Dolan in about 15 minutes. I got a lot of news to get through, too. Debbie. Shoot me an email to Jimmy@JimmyChurchRadio.com. Follow me on Twitter right now at JChurchRadio. Hashtag DMRadioNet. Become a fade or not. Come and hang out in the sandbox. We are only on the Dark Matter Radio Network, bespoke radio for the masses. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I'll be back right after this. Stay with us.
You're listening to Jimmy Church Fade to Black on the Dark Matter Radio Network.
What's up, revolutionaries? It's me, Jimmy Church. Do you have an IRS or state tax issue? Well, I did, and I called national tax experts. My problems were fixed, done, fini, and man, I got to tell you, it was a relief. National Tax Experts are a recognized tax office that services clients in all 50 states. Doesn't matter where you live. Give them a call. I'm telling you, they take the time to understand each and every client's individual financial status as well as their financial goals. And that's exactly what you need, my brother, when you're taking on the evil three-letter. So, seriously, give them a call today at 1-877-909-5444. Again, 1-877-909-5444, or go check out their website, www.nattaxexperts.com. That's NATTAXEXPERTS.com. Tell them Jimmy sent you.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com
On the Dark Matter Radio Network.
All right, Fade to Black is back. Last show of the year. Tonight, Richard Dolan, 10 minutes, bottom of the hour. And then we'll have Deb. Follow us right now on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Shoot me an email to Jimmy@JimmyChurchRadio.com. This is bespoke radio for the masses. We are only on the Dark Matter Radio Network. Last show of the year. 1 1/4 days left. That's it. Man, where did it all go? All in the vapor. Bam. All right, let's get to some news. All right, AirAsia Flight 8501, 162 people on board. Appears that they found the debris. Divers, ships, and aircraft began a new search today after a day of spotting the first signs of debris. The debris was found 100 to 200 kilometers, 60 to 120 miles from the aircraft's last known location over the Java Sea. 6 bodies from the flight have been recovered so far, including 1 flight attendant. Today, searchers spotted a shadow that looked like the plane's skeleton in the water, but strong currents so far have stopped their efforts to locate it again. Tomorrow's a new day, and I am happy. You heard, and I mean that. there needs to be closure for all of those families. Everybody from all those families from MH370. I would hate to have this continue and linger, and then once again have this happen again to Southeast Asia like that. So that's where the news stands right now. It did not disappear. The interview. Did anybody see the interview? I don't know who has seen it, who hasn't. I've seen it, loved it, thought it was great, actually. I thought it was pretty dang good. But I felt weird about pointing the fingers at North Korea too quickly, and I'm not too sure what's going on. But there's some stuff, despite everything that the FBI, and even today, the FBI is saying, no, it was North Korea. And they're saying that everything that was directed at Sony Pictures came out of North Korea. But the security firm Norse, for the last few days, claims it has evidence that shows that the Sony hack was actually 6 individuals, including 2 based in the U.S., 1 in Canada, 1 in Singapore, and 1 in Thailand. Norse's senior VP, Kurt Stamberger, it says that the security was breached, that among the 6 was a former Sony Pictures employee, Lena, a 10-year veteran of the company with a very technical background, who was laid off in May following restructuring. He went on to say that she used that Norse used human resource documents that were leaked as part of the hack on Sony to first identify and then track the former Sony employee's online activity since May, when the person left the company. I'm quoting here, researchers from the company followed that individual online, noting angry posts she made on social media about the layoffs at Sony. Through access to IRC, the Internet Relay chat forums and other sites, they were also able to capture communications with other individuals affiliated with the underground hacking and activist groups in Europe and Asia. Now, does it take a company like Norse, right now, wouldn't you think that the FBI would gather all of this information and back off? I'm just saying. Los Alamos National Laboratory received a grade of unsatisfactory in key areas of its annual federal evaluation for the last fiscal year. The private consortium that manages the lab will receive a mere 10% of what it could have in performance fees and was stripped of 1 year of its multi-billion-dollar annual contract, according to documents made public yesterday. The National Nuclear Security Administration pointed to the lab's role in a radiation leak at the waste isolation pilot plant near Carlsbad as the basis for its low marks and drastically reduced fees. Los Alamos National Security, LLC, also known as LANS, the private consortium of Bechtel, Babcock, and Wilcox Technical Services, URS Energy and Construction, and the University of California that manages the lab, stood to make more than $63 million during the fiscal year 2014 if it met all of the Energy Department's expectations. It did not. Instead, the laboratory will get a mere 6.25 million ducks quacking in the pond. That's a trip. Sci-Fi Channel's Twilight Zone 46-hour marathon from 8 a.m. Pacific time tomorrow, Wednesday, through 6 a.m. Pacific time on Friday, January 2nd, kicks off tomorrow. One of my favorite times of the year. Get them all in. Some William Shatner. You know what I'm talking about. The key to the imagination, to another dimension of the mind. A vast complex believed to have been used by Nazi scientists to develop nuclear weapons during the Second World War has been discovered in Australia. That's right. The facility, A network of subterranean tunnels was found near St. Jorgen an der Gusen, Austria last week, according to the Daily Mail. It covers an area as large as 75 acres and is believed to connect to the B-8 Bergestral underground factory where the world's first operational jet fighter, the Messerschmitt Me-262, was built. Excavations began after researchers detected heightened levels of radiation in the area, a discovery that lends to support the claims that the Nazis were using the complex for their research into the development of nuclear weapons. Though the facility was explored after the war, the Nazis went to far greater lengths to hide the newly discovered bunkers, according to the Sunday Times. Heavy granite plates covered the entrance, while layers of soil and concrete were packed into the tunnels. Researchers utilized classified intelligence documents as well as witness testimony to identify the entrance to the complex. Though the research team was in the process of removing the obstacles, police have halted the excavation last week, demanding that the group acquire a permit. Documentary filmmaker Andreas Sulzer, who is leading the expedition, is confident that work will resume soon. I forwarded this to Joseph P. Farrell. Oh, you can't forget Peter Levenda. How about Jim Mars? I think he'd like to see this too. Interesting, isn't it? You know, with all of the shows that we've done this year on this very subject, there's always that one last little piece that everybody asks for. Where's the proof? You know, what evidence do you have? Man, you should hear the wind here in Burbank blowing right now. Ooh, did you guys hear that? Almost felt earthquake-ish. Man, it is windy outside. All right, let's see. Where are we at tonight? Richard Dolan here in a few minutes. And you Fadernauts will be joined, Donna Colvin. You Fadernauts will be joining us all night with a Fader Night. We haven't done Fader Night in a couple of weeks, and it's my favorite night of the week, and there was no way. I would rather cut Richard Dolan off and get my Fader Night fix than let Richard blow through 3 hours. That's the kind of guy I am. We'll see how many Gobekli Tepes we get in there tonight, Donna. I'll do my best. Tomorrow and Thursday, we'll be taking off. It is the new year. And that's that, you know, it's friends and family, because then after that, we've got another 50 weeks of continuous Fade to Black action here on the Dark Matter Radio Network. With that, let's take a quick break. I'll be back in a few minutes with Richard Dolan. This is Fade to Black, only on the Dark Matter Radio Network, bespoke radio for the masses. I am your host, Jimmy Church. It is the last show of the year. I'll be back right after this. Do not touch that mouse.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church on the Dark Matter Radio Network.
Dark Matter.
Dark Matter. Dark Matter. Dark Matter. Dark Matter.
You're listening to Fade to Black
on the Dark Matter Radio Network.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Fade to Black. bespoke radio for the masses. We are only on the Dark Matter Radio Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow us on Twitter right now at JChurchRadio. Hashtag DMRadioNet. And I believe it's Rich_Dolan. Is that what it is? Richard_Dolan. Rich_Dolan. Everybody say hi to Richard there on Twitter. Richard Dolan is among the world's leading researchers and historians on the UFO subject. He is the author of 2 volumes of History of UFOs and the National Security States, volumes 1 and 2, as well as an analysis of the future, AD, After Disclosure, which he wrote with Bryce Zabel. He has also appeared on the History Channel, Sci-Fi, BBC, and elsewhere. Richard hosts weekly radio show, The Richard Dolan Show, over on our Good Friends Network, KGRA Radio, Races Network, and is a frequent guest on Coast to Coast AM as well as this program. He is currently featured on several television series and documentaries, including Ancient Aliens, Hangar 1 last year and this year, Season 2, along with myself, The UFO Files, and Close Encounters. In his books, articles, and many interviews, Richard has analyzed the destruction of our political liberties as a result of the UFO cover-up, the possible nature of the non-humans themselves, and what their presence means for our civilization, why he believes the cover-up will end within our lifetime. His new book, UFOs for the 21st Century Mind, stays here in my studio next to all of the hardware in here. And I would like to welcome back to the program our good friend, Richard Dolan. Richard, how are you tonight?
Hi, Jimmy. I'm doing great, and it's nice to be on your program. We're almost at the very end of the year, and I get to be one of your last guests.
You are the last one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm taking tomorrow night off, and I have a very ethnic infused family here, and New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, which they happen to also celebrate for like the next 3 weeks. Okay, so it's like. It's no holes.
It gets busy at the church household.
Oh man! So yeah, there's no way I could escape that tomorrow night. So you're the last guest. How you doing? How was Christmas?
Fine. Actually, I'm doing very good. I just wanted to say, as I was listening to your the introduction that you were saying about me, I was thinking, hey, my man, what about my newest book? What about my newest book? But then you got to it. You got to it at the very end. UFOs for the 21st Century Mind. I'm just glad to hear it because that's actually, of all the books I wrote, that's my favorite book.
Well, let me ask you why. Because, the first 3 were game changers for ufology. So why, is it because it's your latest, or why would you say that?
Because it's actually the most up-to-date overall analysis that I've ever done of the field. And to be perfectly candid with you, that I think any other researcher's done. Every one of the books that I've written, all 4 are books, I'm proud of this, that no one else really tried to do anything like it before. The 2 volumes of UFOs in a National Security State, both I think covered very new and fresh ground. AD After Disclosure looked at the future in a way that I think no one really had done. But UFOs for the 21st Century Mind, when you really think about it, there is not anywhere else a single volume that in a kind of up-to-date way encapsulates the entire mysterious, crazy field of UFOs. And I really genuinely try to do that with this book. It covers the history, but it covers the philosophy. It covers the crazy science that doesn't make sense, but it does make sense when you look at contemporary science of dealing with the phenomenon of UFOs. And it deals with the whole deep issues of contact and everything more. It's not just a summary. It's a synthesis. That it's kind of an intellectual synthesis of the entire field for a fresh thinker. That is why I titled it UFOs for the 21st Century Mind. So no, I'm very proud of that book. And I think of it as a 500-page love letter to the field of UFOs, but it really gets into why this is indeed the greatest mystery of our time.
Well, what's interesting with you, and certainly for me as I look at Richard Dolan, is exactly what that book is about, in that we have had the same, and I'm not taking anything away from other authors and researchers out there. I'm not going there, but it seems to, with other publishers and how it's just like the same stuff coming out, and it doesn't break fresh ground. And that's what you've done with these 4 books. And as a publisher, is that what you're trying to do too as well? Because, I mean, you didn't need to bite off one more thing and chew it, and now you're a publisher.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that the intention?
Absolutely. I am so not interested in doing the same thing over and over again. I have no interest. I have zero interest in rehashing things that I've written about and discussed in previous years. I have no interest in doing that. If someone wants to read a book about the earlier history of UFOs, I've done that. It's not that I'll never revisit it ever again, but I don't want to revisit it in a major way. I've done it. I move on to new things. I'm only interested in breaking new ground. I'm only interested in writing books that are going to be a challenge for me and get into something that's totally new relating to this subject. And that's the same with the authors that I pick up. I have the company Richard Dolan Press, which has really expanded dramatically in the last year and a half in particular. Just 2 years ago, 5 years ago, I was only publishing myself. And then I think it was 2009, 2010, I was asked by one other individual if I would publish his book. That was Dr. Richard Sauter, who's a friend and colleague of mine. And he's written a lot of books on underground bases and that type of thing. A lot of people know who Richard Sauter is. And he asked if I would do his next book. And that was back in the summer of 2009. And I thought, I'll do it. Because I knew how to go through the process of publishing. I'd done it a couple of times by then with my books. And then I published a couple of other books, but I wasn't able to do many until I moved over to a paradigm that now is making sense to me. And in the last year and a half, I'm able to publish many, many more books. I have Grant Cameron and T. Scott Crane who did a fabulous book on the Area 51 and the MJ-12 controversy. It's probably the best single book on that, and also dealing with a lot of deep leaks coming out of the classified world. A book by Dr. Bruce Maccabee, which is still one of the top-selling UFO books in the world right now. That's called the FBI-CIA UFO Connection. It's a fabulous book of impeccable research by one of the world's most prominent and respected UFO researchers, Bruce Maccabee. A book by David Marler on triangular UFOs, which is one of its kind. No one's done a book like this.
Right.
There are some websites that deal with triangular UFOs, but David really did this in a sophisticated, deep way, book links treatment, and it's a classic.
When let me ask you this really quick, and I want to get back to your authors in a second because I find that interesting how the selection happens. But when you're driving down the road and suddenly you're a publisher, is that how you thought to yourself, oh man, this is what I wanted to do? Or,
no, never.
Or were you just painted into a corner where you didn't have a choice and you had to become a publisher?
Well, they say necessity is the mother of invention.
Right.
It's not like I mean, as a child, did I ever think I would be writing about UFOs? No, absolutely. I did not think that. Although I would say that as a young person, I always assumed in some way, shape, or form I would be a writer. I always felt that was a calling for me. That was something I needed to do in my bones. I had to be a writer. I had to be a researcher, and a serious type of a researcher and writer. And so I'm proud that I've been able, I think, to do that. But no, being in the game of life and in the game of research, I think, if anyone ever tells you that they know what they're doing, they're lying to you and they're lying to themselves. No one really does. Our best guess is that we're making this game up as we go along, and that's certainly the case with me. I've evolved. I got into the UFO field a little over 20 years ago out of sheer obsession and curiosity, and that was it. And that took me into writing my first book, and that took me into this entire interesting subculture of UFO research that you and I both live in. And that ended up taking me into publishing because I decided I'm very fiercely independent. I decided that I didn't want to be a slave to some publisher that was going to give me some pittance of a royalty, and I didn't want to do it. I thought
exactly, and this is the thing, Richard. This is the thing. When you're an author, then you don't have the responsibilities of what the publisher goes through. One, red lighting or green lighting a book. You have to bum somebody out or make somebody happy. The trials and tribulations of distribution, of printing, bad printing, good printing, editing, all of that stuff that comes along with publishing. You don't have to deal with that when you're an author. You hand off a manuscript and you move on with your life. That's a lot of responsibility to being a publisher. Now, Do you wish maybe you didn't do it?
Good question. No, I'm very glad that I've done it. It's been a great experience for me. What I don't know is how big I want to make this. I've got about a dozen or so authors now. There will be more in 2015. I have a number of them that are lined up, and I've agreed to take their projects on the condition that I end up liking the manuscript ultimately, but I suspect I will. So I'll have new authors, but at some point, I have to keep in mind that what I'm really fundamentally about is my work and not everyone else's work. It's been a great learning experience for me to take on other authors. How long I'll be doing that, I don't really know. I mean, ideally, what I would like is for my own books to be sufficient for me. That will allow me, because really all that I'm trying to do as an author and as a publisher is be able to support myself in the work that I love to do. And the work that I love to do is researching and writing books that fascinate me. So if I'm able to do that without having to have a 40-hour-a-week day job, then I'm happy.
Right.
And that's what I've been able to do all of this time. I'm one of the few researchers that I know in this field that literally does this full time.
How many manuscripts are sitting there that have been sent to you that you haven't read yet? And have you told somebody no?
Oh, I've certainly told people no. Yes, I've told. I haven't kept track of that, but the thing is, when I've recently during the last year put up guidelines for prospective authors of Richard Dolan Press, just because I do get many inquiries. And so what I've tried to do is to put together a few pages of expectations of what they can expect from me as a publisher and what I want to expect out of them as authors. What I expect out of my authors is something that's I judge every manuscript by a letter grade, A, B, C, and D. That's it. And I have very well defined rules. There's no F. Because if you get a D, that is an F.
Okay.
I mean, let's face it. You get a D in school, you might as well. That's an F.
Yeah, that's right.
But an A is something that like you read in English class. Like Ernest Hemingway would write something that's an A level. It's beautiful. It's perfect. It's inspirational. It's timeless. I never get those. I never get an A.
Wait, what'd you give Maccabee?
Well, I'll give you. You want to hear some of my grades? I'll give them to you. So I'll describe. So a B is, I'm very happy with a B when I get a B manuscript. That means it's professionally done. That means like if a professional journalist were to write something you read in a magazine or something you read in a newspaper, like a decent newspaper, someone who knows where to put their commas and they know where to put their semicolons if they dare to use them. Someone who knows how to put together a paragraph in a coherent way and string together their topic in an organized way. That's a solid B, and I am ready to dance in the streets when I get a B manuscript.
Sure.
And a number of my authors are at that level and maybe even a little higher. A C manuscript when I receive one, is someone who I can tell they know what they're talking about, like they've done some research, but they don't really know how to write. They're not experienced at it. So they can put their sentences together, but it's not really organized, and there's some grammatical mistakes. And you know what I mean? There's a lot of websites that are like this. There's a lot of emails that we get that are like that. Mm. And we overlook them in emails, but for a book, I can't overlook that.
Right. It's kind of like this show.
There you go. And then a D is simply that's unacceptable. It's not well thought out, and it's not salvageable. So when I get a manuscript, I want it always to be at the B level at the least. I always strive.
As a publisher, are you doing the editing yourself, or do you have somebody else that comes in?
Both. I've done a lot of editing. I've done a lot of editing of manuscripts. A lot. In fact, it's so much that I won't say which authors but I brought several of them up a full letter grade in my opinion. But the thing is, it's not something that I wish to do that much anymore. I mean, I'll look over every manuscript as a final review at this point, but for me to get into the nuts and bolts of it, a detailed edit, it's too much work, it's too much time. So I have very good editors by now that I will rely on, and I'll shop a manuscript out to, any number of people that I feel are reliable. And of course, I'll always do the final review.
Now, with everything that has come across your desk now, Mr. Publisher Man, Have you stumbled across something that was just blew your mind, and you put the manuscript down and you went, oh, my God, I didn't know this?
Oh, yes. Yes, absolutely.
Give me an example.
I would say most of the manuscripts that I've received in some way or another have something unique and interesting for me. Probably in terms of research in the UFO field. Oh, man. Well, I would have to say David Marler's book on triangular UFOs is one such book where he laid out a very detailed and excellent history of triangular UFO sightings that go back many, many more years than people have any, I think, normally would expect. I mean, triangular UFOs have been seen throughout most of the 20th century. There weren't hot and heavy sightings going all the way back, but there were good sightings even in the 40s and even prior to that.
Sure.
There were some very good ones. Certainly Bruce Maccabee's book, which I mentioned earlier, the FBI-CIA UFO Connection, that's a book that I think is one of the very best UFO research books ever written. And I'm lucky that I got to be able to publish it. What Bruce did in this book was to, and that book had been published previously years ago, briefly by Llewellyn Press, and then it just died.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know why, because I think it's a fantastic book. But he did detailed research of the 1940s and 50s in particular of the FBI's and Air Force intelligence and the CIA's interest in UFO phenomenon in such a way. I mean, this is research that, I researched that area when I wrote my first volume of UFOs in the national security state. But what Bruce did was a detailed study of that era, and I don't think anyone's surpassed what he's done. And I found myself many, many times being blown away. His description of what is known as Project Twinkle, which was 1950-51 in southwestern U.S., that alone is worth the price of the whole book. Project Twinkle was a triangulation effort by the Air Force to triangulate using instrumentation UFOs. And guess what? They nailed it. They got one. They buried the results, but they got an object at 100,000 feet altitude traveling at multiple thousands of miles per hour with a diameter of over 30 feet in 1951. What the hell can do that? Mm-hmm. Anyway, Maccabee writes about all of this beautifully. Richard Sauter, when he did his book that I published, Hidden in Plain Sight, it was the first book by another author I ever did. That book actually really turned my head around in a lot of areas. A detailed study of the almost virtual certainty of massive labyrinthian underground base and tunnel system beneath our feet. The way that he laid that out is something that's never left my consciousness in the 5 years now that I've published that book. But all of the books that I publish, every single one of them, it has something new, added something new to my own thinking of just the fringe alternative knowledge field that we're all working in. So I'm proud of them all. And I'll just say, and you're really nice about asking me about this because it's such a big part of my life these days. But all of these are available at my website, which is richarddolanpress.com, and anyone can just go there. I've got a lot of my material there, but I have a page for every one of the authors that I've published, and that's a growing list.
Here we are. We're at the end of 2014. Looking back, it was a busy year for you, crazy year here for us too as well. And looking back, what are a couple of highlights in ufology that kind of stand out for 2014?
Oh, golly. That's a good question. Has ufology had any real breakthroughs in 2014? I'm not sure that I would say that there has been. One thing is that there has been an explosion of sightings of reports. If you go online to the National UFO Reporting Center, for example, which is Peter Davenport's site, he's run that for years and years. He had an absolute record year of sightings. Just to put things in perspective, the sighting total, now there's 1 day left, but he's over 8,200 reports received for the year.
Yeah.
Just so people can understand this, the previous record he had was 2 years earlier in 2012, which was 7,700. And the previous high total before that was 7,000. For most of the first decade of the 21st century, it'd be like 5,000 sightings a year, 4,000 sightings. So now he's at over 8,000. What is that per day? I'm going to calculate it. It's
60. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm gonna pull up my calculator right now.
You stumped me. You stumped me.
It's 8,200. So let's figure this out right now.
Divided by
8,200
365.
divided by 365, and that gives us 22 sightings a day.
Oh, is it 22? What did I say? 60? Well, you know.
60. But then think about this, okay? Every time that I speak at any event, I nowadays like to ask, how many of you have seen a UFO or seen what you think is a UFO? Raise your hand, and a bunch of hands go up. And then I say, keep your hands up. And now only those who've reported their sighting to any agency keep those hands up. And nearly everyone lowers their hand at that point.
That's right.
Like I would say 9/10 of the people who see what they think is a UFO do not report it anywhere. Even today, even with the web. So take that 8,000 plus number and multiply it by 10 at least, and you're going to get an idea of what people are seeing. Now, that would be over 200 sightings a day. That doesn't mean, obviously, that every one of these are an alien craft or even a black budget craft, but let's take the 5% rule.
Yeah. Base it on your own experience. I've had 3 sightings. I sort of reported one in that I called Steve Murillo and Wolf McCarran over at MUFON the second that we saw it. Did I follow up on it? No. Did I do an official MUFON report? No. Is it lost forever? Absolutely. So I'm actually not even batting 1,000 with my own 3 sightings, and I'll throw it back at you. How many sightings have you had in your life?
In my life, I've had 2 that I think were interesting, and then a third, actually, which I photographed something, which I've not been able to figure out. It's kind of an interesting thing. I've not even shown this photograph anywhere. It's 10 years ago.
Yeah, you and I it's so funny because I have my photograph downstairs, right?
I've talked about these, so they're kind of out there, but they're not part of any statistical database.
Right. And so you reported nothing.
That's right. That's exactly right.
See, you're guilty. So
yes, no, absolutely I am. So think of it this way now. I just did a little bit of quick math. So I took the 8,200 number that Davenport got, and that doesn't even include the MUFON database, which is probably another 7,000, by the way. Let's just leave that out. Multiply that. I multiplied it by 10 to do the 1 out of 10 rule. Hopefully, probably 10 times that amount saw what they think might be a UFO. So that's over 80,000. But then I said, let's just go for 5%. Because I think often a conservative estimate of, true
I think it's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
Let's say 5%.
Sure.
If you did that, I mean, admittedly, these are all rough numbers. But that would give us a total of over 4,000 genuine UFO sightings in the U.S. and Canada for the last year. 4,000 good ones for the year. Think about that. And that's only North America. That's only 5% of the world's population. There's South America. There's Mexico. There's Europe. None of these areas have good reporting systems. Really, they don't. Asia, we have billions of people. China alone. There's the only halfway decent reporting system that exists in the world for the public really is in North America.
That's right.
And that's woefully incomplete as well. And if you add in the MUFON database, we could be at really, let's say 7,000 genuine UFO sightings a year. It's really quite possible.
Now,
and multiply that, you could be talking 50,000 UFO sightings a year worldwide that are actually genuinely difficult UFOs to figure out.
And if you were to put the Dolan brain to that, what would the ratio be, us versus them? What do you think?
It's getting harder and harder to do this every year.
It is.
But still, like, for example, I think a lot of them are still not ours. I don't understand how we've got zigzagging capabilities, for example.
Right.
And I was just looking over a report just yesterday from earlier this year that dealt with a boomerang-shaped object that was seen zigzagging through the sky by a witness that was considered very reliable by this investigator. In fact, it was by the nephew of the writer Lee Spiegel, who a lot of people know, and I think Lee's a great guy. Lee talked to his nephew, who saw and photographed, got a good photograph out of it, a boomerang-shaped object. This is in New Hampshire back in October, just a couple of months ago, that was zigzagging. I don't know what can do that. Now, if those are ours, then we're obviously flying something that's got some kind of electrogravitics, anti-gravity, for lack of a better word. And that's very likely the case that we have something like that. So to answer your question, I don't think I have any way really of knowing what's the breakdown. Are half of them ours? Are half of them alien? I really have no idea. To me, that's a secondary issue. Always has been. From the time that I wrote my first book right until today, to me, the important thing about this phenomenon is to remember that there is an absolute core of truly inexplicable sightings that are not supposed to exist. They're not supposed to be here. There's not supposed to be aircraft that can zigzag. Not today, not 50 years ago, but these reports are still out there.
And what do you make of, and I talk about this all the time, but it's fascinating to me. What do you think about the preponderance of sightings in Canada? You know, their population is a fraction of ours.
Right.
But yet there is so much activity going on up north. Do you have any conclusions to that?
I live very close to Canada, and I'm there a lot. I'm in upstate New York in Rochester, and I go to Canada as often as I'm able to because I love it up there. And I agree. There's a long history of fascinating sightings. And I cut you off, and I feel bad. Who are you talking to about this?
Well, every guest, because it's a subject that we talk about all the time. And, you know, you have Grant Cameron and his amazing site. I get that. But it's just I talk to guests all the time, and I want to know, what is it with Canada? Is it because it's wide open?
Well, there's a lot of water. There's a tremendous amount of fresh water in that country, much more than what we have here in the States. That's one thing. It's truly remote in the sense that once you get, 100, 200 miles north of the border, you're getting into some pretty sparsely populated territory. So if there were a presence of another species that's intelligent and technological, it's not from here. To be honest with you, Canada's not a bad place to go. You'd have a lot of privacy,
natural resources.
And tremendous natural resources, if that were an interest to them. I myself discovered a fascinating Canadian UFO sighting from 1936, which I've written about. I was in the Canadian Archives in Ottawa a number of years ago. I've gone there a couple of times now. And, back in the 70s and 80s in particular, if a Canadian citizen saw a UFO, they could report it to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and that would go to the capital. And basically, it would just get in the file, and no one would ever look at it. But all those reports are on record. You can go through them, and I did. And one elderly man from the early '80s wrote. He said, "Look, no one's going to investigate this, but I just had to write this for posterity. This is something that happened to me when I was 25 years old in 1936, when I was doing surveying work for the Canadian government way up in the Northwest Territories." And he described exactly where it was, and I found it. It's remote. Nothing grows up there. It's absolutely barren. But he was doing aerial mapping, and he was flying in one of those cool planes that landed on the water, and he was taking photographs so that the Canadian government could have an accurate topography of that remote region in 1936. Mm-hmm. So he said, I was landed. I was doing a pre-flight check, and I just, for whatever reason, happened to look skyward. It was a perfect blue sky in late spring, early summer. And he said, and right above me, he said, was the most perfect configuration of an aircraft one could imagine. And it was a slightly elongated object, he said. It did not reflect any sunlight. He thought it was large, but he couldn't tell exactly how high it was because there was no clouds. But he watched it turn from a north-south to an east-west configuration in an instant, and it then instantly accelerated and was gone at the horizon within a matter of moments. No trail, no sound, nothing.
In
the middle of nowhere up in Canada in 1936.
And 1936, you're not seeing things in the sky or that often, and certainly not way there. Up in the Great White North.
Absolutely not there. To this day, no one lives in that region. There's no cities there. There's no settlements there, and there weren't back then.
Santa Claus. Don't forget Santa Claus.
Well, that would be the best explanation.
Yeah, right? Wow, that's
but it's an incredible sighting, I mean, that's a long time ago.
We're at the top of the hour. This is Fade to Black on the Dark Matter Radio Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. We are talking last show of the year with our good friend Richard Dolan. And how much snow do you guys have, by the way? You're in Rochester.
You were getting some today, and in fact, it got really cold finally. It was 20 degrees a little while ago, which is getting chilly. And we just started getting some snow. So I'm expecting, I think we're getting a couple of inches of snow tonight or tomorrow.
I remember back in the late 80s, I was on tour with a band, and we were going to Rochester. Mm-hmm. And we're driving up the freeway. It was in January, and I'm not making this up. We're driving like at 8 o'clock in the morning, and every 50 yards going up the freeway was a car flipped over in the snow. It was like the crazy. I'm like, Rochester's no joke, and the snow was so high, and we were just freaking out. It was like the apocalypse.
It happens sometimes up here. I mean, that sounds like a bad one. I've driven through those. We've had them here. Every now and then we'll get buried. We'll get slammed. Buffalo gets it worse. I'll say that. They're about an hour drive to the west. Buffalo gets the really serious lake effect. But we can get hit pretty badly.
Yeah. But you know what? It looks good in pictures. So that's, it's Christmas.
So it's all worth it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Last night I had on Olaf Phillips, and we were talking about one of my favorite subjects. Certainly you're back on the show. I've got to visit this. We were talking about breakaway civilizations. And where are you with that now? What's the latest and what's your gut?
This is an idea. This is a phrase that I originated, I'm proud to say. I coined it for my second volume of UFOs in a National Security State back in 2009. And it's interesting to me to see how this phrase, this concept has just taken its own life, and many people talk about it now. And I find that fascinating, and I'm glad, because I think that there's some resonance to this, and many people need to be looking at this, at least in a responsible way. The idea of a breakaway civilization is really a simple one, and as I see it. Think of the black budget world on steroids, with exotic technology, ET technology maybe, tossed in there, or at least classified science that the rest of the world is unable and not legally allowed to pursue. And so if you've got that situation for a long enough period of time, these guys in the black budget world, they're going to have breakthroughs, aren't they, that the rest of us are not allowed to have in terms of energy, maybe in terms of biology, who knows? And certainly we know that there are thousands of classified patents, and that many of them have to do with energy and propulsion. So let's do the math here. What is very likely the case is that there's been a clandestine group that has had access to revolutionary scientific principles, which means that they've very likely had the ability to create revolutionary types of craft, flying saucers, anyone, or something that works on those principles that have allowed them, presumably, to go off-world or to explore places or aspects of our environment that the rest of us just have no opportunity to do. And I think all of that has happened. And I call that a breakaway civilization.
Let me ask you this. We were talking about this last night, and I don't know about the timing of this. Did you write about the breakaway civilization before Gary McKinnon or after Gary McKinnon?
Well, Gary McKinnon, that's not a phrase that he ever used.
No. That's not what
Gary McKinnon, I coined that phrase in the late 2000s. So I think in 08, 09, when I was writing my book, it first appeared in print in 2009. Gary McKinnon hit the scene. He was arrested in 2002. And what Gary McKinnon was describing was, essentially a breakaway civilization. I'm not the person who first thought of the idea of a radical secret space program or the like. It's just a phrase that I came up with.
Yeah, no,
that people like to use.
What I'm referring to is Gary McKinnon, in a very innocent way, in his stumbling across what he found, and I find him very credible, by the way.
Absolutely, yes.
He absolutely described a breakaway civilization almost to the letter.
Yeah, Project Solar Warden and the idea of what we would call a secret space program. Absolutely, all of that Gary McKinnon did stumble into. And then, there's been a number of other researchers over the years, over the decades, frankly, who have contributed pieces to this scenario that have led many of us to conclude that, yes, there is a deeply clandestine group that's off the charts in their technology, off the charts and in a completely different mental world than the rest of us. And I was simply the person who said, you know what, it really seems like it constitutes a separate civilization, one that's broken away from our own, hence the phrase. Where am I with that today? Well, I think it's a valid concept, and I think it's probably true. To me, it's still a theory. I would never go so far to say that it's proven definitive fact. I think it's probably the case. There are people who claim to be whistleblowers, who I think many of them are not genuine, who say that they participated in this or that aspect of a secret space program. They claim to have gone to Mars or whatever. Now, most of these people I don't think are credible, and none of them has one been able to kind of verify any kind of claims or corroborate anything.
No, but if Michio Kaku disappears or Stephen Hawking disappears, then there you go. We're off and running.
Okay, fair enough. Yes, absolutely. That's right. Alternative 3.
Right. Exactly.
Take the smart people and send them off to Mars or the moon or whatever. But I think I do think that. I mean, look, we do know when we study the classified world, the aspects of it that are available for us to understand, we realize that they're separate in so many ways, and they have a tremendous amount of leeway and independence from the legal system, and they have a tremendous amount of independence from oversight. And they do experiment with advanced technology. So just take it a step further and assume that something like Roswell did happen and other types of crash retrievals of ET tech have happened. Well, if they did happen, what do you think they're going to do with it? They're not going to sit on their thumbs looking at the technology. They're going to try to study it, replicate it, see what they weaponize it, and all of these things. And all of that would have to be ultra classified, and the rest of the world would not be permitted to be able to study this. So that, by definition, is classifying radically advanced technology, and that, in my view, leads to a breakaway civilization, which I do think is a very big part of the picture of the world in which we live in.
I'm not asking for names, but do you have any insider type, I'm putting it in quotes here, that leaks you information? Do you have stuff that comes in the back door?
Over the years, yes, some, not a lot, only a little bit. One such individual is very well known. He's famous. He's the Apollo 14 astronaut, Dr. Edgar Mitchell, who I've spoken to on a number of occasions. And Dr. Mitchell, this is years ago, and I think this is important because he doesn't talk about this anymore. But Edgar Mitchell has said repeatedly, and he said to me privately and personally, that he had 2 ultra-high-level connections who confirmed to him the existence of deeply classified programs that studied alien technology and bodies, plural. And he said this to me. Now, when you're a famous Apollo astronaut like Edgar Mitchell, as I think of it, who's not going to want to be your buddy? Everyone's going to want to be your friend in in the military world and in the classified world. He's a hero to those people. And so he has access. And so when he tells me, as he did, that he has 2 high-level individuals who told him this, I take that seriously. At one point, I asked Edgar, this is in an email some years ago, I said essentially, hey, look, I know you tell me you like my research and you've told me this incredible statement, so can you throw me a bone and give me some information, point me in a direction? I'm not asking you to give up names per se, but can you expand, at least in some way, on what you said to me? And his response was telling. He said, look, I would like to, and I do appreciate what you do. However, the people who came to me at the time that they did so at, this is a direct quote, at great professional risk, personal risk, and risk to their families. That's exactly what he said. And I cannot give up their names until after they're gone. Risk to their families.
Wow.
Personal risk. What are we talking about? Well, obviously, we're talking about something that sounds like a physical threat. And that's what Edgar Mitchell wrote to me. Now, I've spoken with a few other individuals who have prominent backgrounds, and one of whom I think is fairly, very highly respected in the scientific field, and another one who's had a very prominent government background. And both of those individuals, one of them in particular, told me explicitly of his knowledge, not speculation, but knowledge, scientifically confirmed in his professional capacity of the existence of deeply classified programs. He said, so classified, you'd be shocked how secret this is, of alien technologies. And he said, and at least one body that I personally know about. One alien body. And he almost whispered that to me. I said, what did the body look like? And he said, very precise language. He said, I didn't say that I saw the body. He said, this is another exact quote. The data became known to me in such a manner and with such individuals present that it was incontrovertible. That's all I had to go on. There will be a day when I give this guy's name up. I'm sure I don't feel that it's the right idea for me to do this at this time. But he's known to me and he's known to a number of other people, and I'll just leave it at that. And I'll just say furthermore that I believe him. I think that I had a long enough series of conversations with him that I think that he was being straight with me. So I've had a few of these that are interesting, but they still only take you so far.
Right. When it's the $1 million question. I mean, what is it going to take, and when that photograph appears, or the video appears? Because there's tons of videos on YouTube. There's tons of photographs. I publish them all the time. You see them all the time, but they only take you so far, and then you find out that it was a video still from a Brazilian UFO movie from 1966.
Well, this is a book that I co-authored, AD After Disclosure, and we tried to puzzle that out. And the funny thing is that we did that book 4 years ago now, and I'm at a point where I'm not so sure that I'm of the same opinion that I had back then. So at the time when I wrote AD After Disclosure, I used to like saying this, and I still think there's some truth to this, that disclosure is a paradox. It's impossible and it's inevitable. Impossible in the sense that, as we all know, there's no motivation for the powers that be to give this up because it's just too revolutionary. But inevitable, I would always say, because our society is moving in such a dramatic way. We're gaining new tools of information. There's WikiLeaks now. There's great ability for us to capture data with our phones, even things like this. That I always felt that it's inevitable that something will come out. I still think it's possible that something will come out, but I'm not sure I would say it's inevitable. Because there's another side of what's happening, which is that we're seeing the true development of a global totalitarian system. It's not just in the U.S. It's not just in Europe. It is everywhere. Everywhere. And it involves the creation of a transnational legal structure, of all types of legal structures, and interlocking of intelligence communities, and interlocking of surveillance systems, and an interlocking of a kind of global media complex that is basically a 24/7, 365 mind job done on people.
Right.
And so, exactly where I'm going here. So in that context, the question is it possible for them, the elite, let us say, those people who have access to the breakaway civilization and have access to the global media complex, is it possible for them to continue mind jobbing the global public and continue to dumb people down and to get to a point where they create essentially an openly global fascist system that is one of total control over people's lives? And in that context, could they simply go indefinitely into kind of like a Brave New World or a 1984 scenario and just keep lying to a dumbed down population that's basically enslaved? And most people even today, they don't have the ability to do the research that you and I are doing. We're the anomalies. Most people work 40, 50-hour weeks.
That's right.
And they don't have time to fight the machine.
It smells of that now. We're like, when we used to talk about Orwell in 1984, 20, 30 years ago, okay, all right. But now, today, when we talk about it, and we look around and we think about the technology and the way the media is dealt with, and advertising, and the spoon feeding of the status quo, we're right there right now. I don't know how to stop it. Yeah, I don't know how to stop it and to slow it down. It's programs like this that certainly help and aid in that, and your show and stuff, where we can get some semblance of the truth out there, or the truth as we know it, an alternative one
right
of it.
exactly.
But it smells of it now. I want to be all doom and gloom, Richard. Let's not.
Well, no, I mean, and there's a real chance that that things can break through and change. I think if/when it happens is going to be very, very sudden, very almost unexpected. And this is something that we wrote in AD after disclosure, and I still think is true. Like, you could wake up Monday morning, everything's like the way it was, but by Tuesday night, the world could be upside down. That's a real possibility. In other words, a leak, an event, a thing that happens, an object that's captured on multiple video recording devices, perhaps that's uploaded and is an incontrovertible something that wouldn't prove that UFOs are alien, but it would at least. Here's the thing: if there's a good video capture from multiple sources of what is unavoidably a UFO, flying saucer, whether it's ours or not ours is secondary to the fact that these things now exist. That's a shift in our energy paradigm, if nothing else. That's a game changer for our world.
Quickly.
I mean, one of the things about UFOs to keep in mind, one reason of many that this is an important subject, it has nothing to do with aliens. That's interesting. But frankly, the fact that if UFOs can be proven to be like a real thing, that revolutionizes the entire way that the Earth is, the infrastructure of the human race is run. That eliminates petroleum essentially as fossil fuel primary source of energy, because whatever these flying saucers are using, it ain't gasoline.
No, it's not.
Something better. So implicit in the solution of the UFO mystery is a post-petroleum future. That by itself, that's the game changer right there. That turns everything upside down. And you look at what's going on in the world today. Everything is based on petroleum. The proxy war that the U.S. and Saudi Arabia are now fighting against Russia and Iran and Syria, and this is absolutely what's going on. All of this has to do with control over oil and natural gas. All of it. And basically, the U.S. punishing Russia. They're dropping the price of oil to bankrupt Russia, to destroy the ruble, and also to wreck Iran's economy. This is exactly what's happening. People are enjoying their cheap gas. Enjoy it, guys, but understand while you're driving your car with cheaper gas, that what's actually happening is this is a plan literally to destroy the economic independence of Russia and to destroy the nation of Iran.
I've thought about this so much.
With UFOs, all of that goes away. With the UFO reality, all of that goes away.
If the theory of peak oil, I've been waiting for the backside of peak oil to kick in here for a while now. What if it just turns out that I'll pull a number out. 20 years from now,
right?
We're supposed to be out of oil. But now we've moved on. Now it is an electric car world. We've got alternative sources, hydrogen, or whatever it is. We're not even burning gas anymore. And gas is like 10 cents a gallon. And there's still plenty of oil coming out of the ground. And everything that we've been going through for the last 30 years has been a complete ruse.
I'm not so sure. I think that the concept of peak oil is still valid. This is my opinion. What we're seeing is the development of the shale oil in Canada, the tar sands, which everyone was talking about. Peak oil theorists were talking about this years ago. And really what they predicted is, I think, has actually come home to roost, which is that the tar sands would be extracted. And that's what Alberta is all about. Now, what they didn't predict was fracking. No one really kind of saw that one coming, the fracking revolution, which is going to completely trash our global environment, by the way. But what fracking has done is it does allow for the extraction of particularly natural gas in a way that was not easy to do before. It's coming at a tremendous cost. But the idea of peak oil is very simple. It's based on a finite supply of a particular product. And I think that remains true. Even if oil is generated from the earth, some people believe that, doesn't matter to me. Doesn't mean you can get to all of it. Mm-hmm. Some of it still becomes difficult. What a peak oil theorist would say, and I don't want to get too off track here, but it's not that we would run out of oil. It's that we would run out of cheap oil. Now, what Saudi Arabia is doing is they're adding to the renewed oil production that's going on in the United States right now, and that has resulted in dropping the price of oil to really low levels, lower than we've had for years. But I'm guaranteeing this is a temporary phenomenon, and they're doing this only as a measure to destroy, to wreck the ruble and to wreck the Iranian economy, and by extension, Syria. It's a proxy war.
It's going on right in front of us, and you can see it happening. There's nothing really, as long as OPEC wants to play along. And of course, OPEC doesn't mind playing along, because as long as they keep production up, no matter what the price of oil is, they keep the money flow going. If they cut production and oil is low, it's going to they're going to have to wait 6 months or a year for the
Yeah, well, I suspect, I don't know this for sure, but I suspect many OPEC members are not happy about the situation. I mean, they're all making less profits, but Saudi Arabia is just doing this. They're doing this unilaterally, and it looks like it was with a meeting with John Kerry back in September.
That's right.
Where all of this was arranged. So, but anyway, to bring it back to the UFO phenomenon, this is not unrelated. This is actually all related, because once again, a 10-year-old child who understands enough about UFOs realizes they don't use gasoline. They don't use petroleum. So, and if all one has to do is recognize the reality of this phenomenon, of this technology, to understand that means that there's another important source of energy that must be available. What is that source? Is it the zero-point energy field? Is it something as simple as clean nuclear fusion? I don't know. But it's something, because, understand that if we achieve clean nuclear fusion, that's a game changer as well, frankly.
Completely. And
yeah, that changes everything.
When I think about, and Bob Schroeder had a really good way of presenting this. I've talked about him now for the last few shows, but what if it wasn't even fuel at all? What if it is just the contact of two metals to each other, or whatever? It's something that
some kind of magnetism.
Yeah, something that just isn't. It's not even renewable. It's just something that there's no fuel on these ships. Period.
I'll tell you, this is another leak. This is another quiet insider who spoke to me. This is last summer, and this guy worked for a major. Well, he worked at Boeing, so I'll just mention that. I don't care. His health was not good, and he actually may not be alive at this point. I don't know. I had a long conversation with him about Boeing technology, and he said to me, he says, they do have a breakaway kind of technology. They do have off-world vehicles. I said, really, you know about this? He said, yes. There's only so much I want to talk about. He said, but they're using principles of Earth-based magnetism. They're essentially, his point was that they're using magnetic fields of Earth, and they're able to exploit that in such a way to give them essentially anti-gravity.
Makes sense to me. Two magnets is anti-gravity.
Right. Right.
So okay, now I've got a few minutes left with you. If you don't mind, I'm going to ask you to maybe hang on for a few minutes, and we'll let some lucky callers break through and speak to you personally. But let me have some fun here for a second. Looking back at ancient alien theory. What's your best example of that?
Honestly, the greatest mystery of our ancient world, in my opinion, remains the Great Pyramid at Giza. I'm not an expert in it, but I've read a few books on this. It is an interest of mine. Not everyone knows that, I guess. When I look at all of the factors of that particular structure, and I'm talking about the Great Pyramid in particular, the mathematics, the precision, the engineering, anyone who's delved into this a little bit, they know all about this. The fact that the granite inside that pyramid, inside the king's and queen's chamber, was quarried from 1,000 kilometers away and is just suspended inside this pyramid, basically. All of these things and more. The astroarchaeological evidence of it, as some people have argued. All of these tell me that this is a vastly older structure and a much more complex structure than anything human civilization understood how to do at that time. I'm not saying that this is evidence of aliens, but I am saying this is evidence of a highly advanced civilization that we do not have any knowledge of to this day. whether that was an advanced human civilization that obtained some kind of important secret or had help or knowledge from elsewhere, I don't know. But to me, that pyramid by itself defies any kind of conventional logic that we're able to throw at it. There are some other, to be honest with you, I'm not a big fan of most of the evidence that's presented as ancient astronaut, ancient alien theory. I'm just not. Most of it leaves me kind of cold. People talk about the Anunnaki as if they know what they're actually talking about, as if, oh yeah, it's a proven fact that the Anunnaki are here. Well, you know what? Guess what? That's really not the case.
Okay.
This is my own opinion. People love, ever since Zecharia Sitchin wrote his books, which are interesting interpretations of Sumerian texts. Yes, they absolutely are. That's not the same thing as proving that these beings actually existed the way that Sitchin wrote about them. After all he's doing is translate Sumerian texts. And by the way, Sitchin's caught a lot of criticism from Sumerian scholars for the sloppiness of his translations. Just saying. Okay?
Right.
But even if you took him literally at his word, what these texts are describing are the stories that the Sumerians had of the Anunnaki, who supposedly were here hundreds of thousands of years ago. And my question to you or to anyone listening is, how the hell did the Sumerians, who were writing this 6,000 years ago, know about something that happened 500,000 years ago?
Well, now you're thinking too black and white. That's the way you think. Yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah. I'm with you. I'm so on the fence with Sitchin, but there's just, when you look at evidence of, and I'll say it out loud right now, Göbekli Tepe, you look at that, that's a strange anomaly.
That's absolutely fascinating.
That's right.
It's an amazing site. It's in southern Turkey, and it's 11,000 years old, and it's not supposed to be there.
Explain that. That's all I have to say. Just explain.
No. Listen,
not you.
I'm
just in
with you, man.
Yeah,
I'm with you. But this is different from talking about the Anunnaki. There are absolutely tremendous mysteries of the ancient past of the human race. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Göbekli Tepe, which has only been known about for the last 10 years or so, is right at the front row center, right along with the Great Pyramid, right along with the Sphinx, with Machu Picchu and a few other fascinating, artifacts, sites they're just not explainable. And they are indicative, all of them, of a very high level of human civilization at a period of more than 10,000 years ago. So something important was going on. And a lot of people have written about this. Grant Hancock's done great work. Robert Bauval and John Anthony West, who I consider a friend. All of these people and others have done great work on our very ancient past. And I think have demonstrated that, yes, there is something important, major, about the early human chronology that just throws our current official chronology right out the window.
It really does. And when you think about, I'm going to open up the phone lines in a second. Everybody just relax. There is so much out there that is completely forgotten about. And what I mean by that is, and a good example is Giza. Because when all of the 18th, 19th, 20th century explorers are heading to Egypt and seeing them, they're asking Egyptians themselves, what are those? Well, I don't know. Really? Right. They can't read the hieroglyphics. They don't know the ancient languages. They don't know why they were there, who built them. And that's a great example of what's been going on around the world, period. There's this huge gap in knowledge that we don't know anything about. And that's where, when I'm on the fence with Sitchin, in that I don't know if you want to take Sitchin literally, but when you think about it, we don't know. I want to use a bad word. We don't know anything. We don't. We honestly don't know a thing.
I'll just say this, because I don't want to give the impression somehow debunking Sitchin. I'm really not. I think it is very possible, I might even say likely, that humanity has been tinkered with by others, let's just say, over the course of our existence here on planet Earth. And it's entirely possible. And so that when we think of a theory like what Sitchin put out years ago of the so-called Anunnaki, something like that, I think, is possible. The problem that I have when people talk about the Anunnaki, at least a lot of people, is they talk about it as proven fact, and it's like, oh yeah, absolutely, the Anunnaki are here, and they were here, and they remain here. And I mean, the fact is, nobody knows. And when people talk like that, I mean, honestly, pardon me saying this, but they're just talking out of their ass. And I have very little interest in maintaining conversation with people like that, because they're not impressing me with what they're saying, because I know for a fact that they don't really know anything.
Yeah, nobody does, and
no one really does.
Nobody does.
When people make these declarative statements, yeah, I lose interest in talking with them.
Okay, one last question, and then I'm going to beg for you. I know it's late out there. I just want you to hang on and take a couple of phone calls if you don't mind.
Sure.
Okay, one last question before we open up the phone lines. What is Richard Dolan's best evidence of a UFO ET presence here? Is it one particular case? Is there something that maybe you don't talk about as much, that you kind of hold in your back pocket? But if you were in court, Richard, and you had to put that evidence down on the table, and you're F. Lee Bailey, what is it?
Well, you phrase that in kind of a vague way. You said UFO/ET, and I want to differentiate. So what I would say, first of all, in terms of best evidence, we have to go back to the confirmed declassified United States government documents pertaining to UFOs that are not a matter of argument. They exist. I could take this. I could go to NBC TV tonight. I can go on Fox News. I can go on MSNBC, any of the mainstream. And with the proven declassified documents, let's say the top 10, top 12, top 15, I could prove to the most hardened skeptic, I think, not necessarily that UFOs are alien. I think that's a bridge too far for the declassified literature. But I could prove that UFOs, A, were a serious problem to our military higher-ups all through the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond, and that B, they created reports that tracked objects visually and by radar that did the impossible. That is, it did things that were not supposed to be possible by any kind of conventional standard, and that all speculation rejected the fact that they were the Soviets and didn't seem to lead to the conclusion that they were our own secret projects as well. And that's historical record. So in other words, what I could prove by the declassified documents is that there was a genuine UFO phenomenon that the national security community kept hidden because they didn't know how to deal with it in terms of the public. That's real. That begs the other question. What's behind that UFO phenomenon? Were they black budget, secret, classified military things, or were they beyond? And what it looks like, all of this is cumulative now. It looks like, first of all, military analysts typically, frequently, did believe that these were extraterrestrial, or as they used to say, interplanetary in the early days.
Right.
Many people concluded that. That's also a matter of historical record. So these are interesting things. And if I were sitting on CNN doing some kind of debate, this is something that I would bring up. I think we make a mistake as researchers when we try to prove too much, when we try to go where the evidence isn't easily leading us. It's one thing to speculate that these are extraterrestrial, and I do that all the time, and actually I think that they're extraterrestrial, but I can't say that I know it for sure. What I know for sure is that there's a genuine phenomenon that defies conventional explanation to this day. And to me, that's a great way to start the ball rolling. I believe that there are secrets being held in the black budget classified world where those people have had access to information, confirmed information that you and I don't have access to.
That's right.
All we can do is we think we know, and we get leaks, and it seems like it fits. Okay. And, we have to work on it. So you have to distinguish between what you know and what you think you know at all times. So to me, the best evidence is always the declassified literature, because no one can argue it. Can't argue with that.
Let's take some calls. I've got them lined up here. The phone lines are now open. 323-825-5045. You can also Skype in Fade to Black 14. And I'm going to get Richard to hang on here for a few minutes. So let's just go to the first one. I'm answering these in order. Here we go. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Say hi to Richard Dolan. Who's calling?
Good evening, gentlemen. This is Laird Kevin.
How are you, Laird?
Well, I can't complain any. There wouldn't do me any good, too. How are you gentlemen tonight?
Laird, tell everybody where you're calling from.
The Great White North.
Hey,
Edmonton-ish, Alberta-ish.
All right. Hey, Laird, what's your question for Larry tonight? Or Laird, what's your question for Richard tonight?
Good, Jimmy. I just wanted to ask him if he's going to be doing a cross-Canadian tour again, possibly next summer, or anything in the making.
Oh, thanks for asking that, Laird. And yeah, you're referring to the tour that I did last May and June of this year, of the Modern Knowledge Tour of Canada, which was a wild adventure. We did 12 cities in about a month, starting in Halifax and going all the way out to Vancouver. And I'm not scheduled to be part of that tour for next year. They are doing another one with different individuals in there. I'm trying to remember all of the people that they've got, and I can't offhand, but I'm not planning to be part of that. I do, I'm not too far from Toronto. I'm not too far from Kingston. I get myself up there every so often. But as far as doing a tour, don't have that in the works at the moment. Sorry.
Next phone call. Hi, you're live with Richard Dolan on Fade to Black. Who's calling? Where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Jim from Texas from the Sandbox. How you doing?
Hey, Jim. How are you tonight? Say hi to Richard.
Hi, Richard. Love your work. Hey. Absolutely love it.
Oh, thank you so much, Jim. I appreciate hearing that. I really do.
What do you got tonight, Jim?
Well, I was a first-time caller. I didn't know if that was happening.
I knew that, Richard, we're giving away a bunch of stuff tonight.
Oh, okay.
To first-time callers. Okay, so, Jim, cool. I've got you down. When we're done with the phone call, just email Rita, and we'll get your address. We'll get some stuff out to you. What's your question for Richard tonight?
My question for Richard is his opinion of the Malibu underwater base.
Oh, there you go. He had to go there.
That's a good story for 2014. When, Jimmy, you asked me about that earlier, I should have mentioned that. I don't know. I mean, I actually have stopped following it over the last few months. Jimmy can probably tell you more than I could about it. But I will say this. The image of that structure is quite fascinating. And I don't know that it's been explained in a conventional manner, at least convincingly. I guess I would just say I think it's interesting at this point. And I don't know that it's a secret underwater base, but I'd like to know more about it. Let me ask, what's going on with that, Jimmy?
Well, we've okay. Well, to cut to the chase, we were approached by two different production companies to go out and shoot a documentary and head out on a boat and get some submersibles down and video. And we're really close. I'm waiting for one of the two to close the deal. And we're very, 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 very close. So it
looks like you might be able to actually do some follow-up, some on the spot.
Well, yeah, I did. I flew out. I did jump in a plane and went out and flew out over the base. And the shocking thing was, I don't even think
base.
Or whatever.
Site.
Yeah, the site, whatever you want to call it. And I don't think I've told you about this.
No, I didn't know about this.
So we flew out. And you know what? I'll bring in the next caller, but they're just going to sit here on hold. Let's just do that. I've got them stacked up here. So we flew out over the base, and as we were approaching, Richard, and I'm looking at the GPS, and we have the coordinate. We have a big X on the screen, which is basically because the base is 2.5 miles, or the structure is 2.5 miles by 1.5 miles. So it's a big place. At the front of the structure is our GPS coordinate. We've got that marked. And we're flying out, and I'm watching us approach this X, and we're about a half mile out, and I'm all excited, and I got video running, and the pilot, Steve, turns to me, and he goes, "What's that?" And I'm like, what? And right as we cross the X on the GPS, I look out the window, and there is a dive ship, not a boat, a ship, right on the X. And I'm like, what the heck? So we dive down in the plane to take a look, and we circle this boat. And I'm going to guess, and I'm going to say this thing was 100 feet plus, it's a ship. And they're diving right there. Now,
no kidding.
Yeah. And all around, it's all on videotape. And all the way around.
Could you identify what the ship was?
No, it was white. I'll say that. And it was, but this is the crazy part. Looking out, and we're at Port Hueneme, and Point Magoo, the Marine base. There's no boats in the water. We're 6 miles out into the ocean, and there's
obviously
nothing.
Someone else is following. Someone else is interested in this.
Yes, and we
the same thing.
And we circled this boat for about 15 minutes, and I know we freaked him out really good, and videotaped, and you could see off to the side there was a couple of divers in the water, and you could see them assisting them, and there were some lines that were being dropped in the water. So that was pretty crazy considering how big the ocean is, and the one spot where this boat could be was. And that was pretty fascinating. I've published those pictures.
Well, you better get your documentary done soon, man, because
I know, right? Somebody's going to rain on my parade.
That's what's going to happen.
Okay, hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
This is Steve from Bluefield, Jimmy.
Hey, Steve, how are you tonight, sir? Say hi to Richard Dolan.
Mr. Dolan, how are you, sir?
Doing very well, Steve. Nice to meet you.
I got a good question for you.
Okay.
The videotape that you done with the elderly gentleman when he spoke about going out there at 51 and Eisenhower sent him out there and he had to report back.
Right.
After the tape, because I'm a firm believer that after the taping and when you get to speak to these people one-on-one, that they tell you some things that they don't say on tape.
That's correct.
Is there anything that he told you that you can tell us that he told you that he didn't put on tape?
Well, let me. Thank you for asking that, Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
I'll say a couple of things about that. Of all of the YouTube videos that I have out there, that has gotten more views than anything else that I've ever done, and it's unusual for me because almost everything else that I put out there is information that I feel very confident that I can confirm that I know is true. And this video, I did this interview as a favor for Stephen Bassett, who was running the annual X conference and was doing the citizen hearings on disclosure, and asked if I would interview this man. And I went up with a production team, and I did it. This man was in a remote region of northern Minnesota. I can say that. His health was very poor, and it's had millions of views at this point. Basically, under the YouTube video, dying CIA officer gives testimony about UFOs. He wasn't a CIA officer. He never said he was. He was contracted by the CIA, however, in the late 50s and up to 1960 to review UFO cases, in the United States that were coming in from Europe, and then stated that he and his boss, particularly as his supervisor, were charged by President Eisenhower to go to what is now Area 51 to find out the status of the ET programs that were there. That was ostensibly the reason. And Eisenhower said to them he was very unhappy because he wasn't able to get good information coming out of there. And that if he didn't get good information from these guys, he was going to send in the army and invade Area 51. That's what this man said to me, and I was quite shocked by all this. I want to say a couple of things about this man. One, I spent several hours with this guy, and I really genuinely liked him. I felt that he was a genuinely honest man. I felt he was a genuinely decent and kind man also. I met his son-in-law who was there for the shoot, and I got to talk at length with his son-in-law who knew the story intimately. And the son-in-law, I think, was a stand-up guy, very honest and very good man. So all of those things, in terms of personal, reputability and so forth, I think give this gentleman some credibility. However, I was still never able to confirm some of the things that he said about his claims. Some of them did strike me as a bit, a bit much. This is like a Forrest Gump type of a situation. A guy who's like there to do a lot of different things, see a lot of things. I mean, one of the things that he mentioned, I think this is on the video, was that not only did he see a Roswell craft, but he was taken to a room where he saw a live extraterrestrial behind a glass, and he heard it telepathically.
Mm-hmm.
And the statement that he heard the being say was, "We mean you no harm." That's all that he said he heard. He said a couple of things. One thing that he said off camera, and by the way, we're still trying to put together or the production people, a DVD that has more information about this man. So I'm hopeful that there'll be more. I'm trying to be guarded and careful.
Sure.
He did say a few things, and I'm just trying to be careful here.
Man, I can tell too.
Well, it's not like I'm trying to hold this back because I believe in getting information out. But you have to understand, this man was on meds when I was speaking with him, painkillers. His mind truly was foggy. That's fact.
Is he still with us?
He's still alive. Yeah.
Okay.
As far as I know, he's put into a nursing home full time.
Were you
Part
able
of the problem that we had?
Well, were you able to go back and talk to him again? Not the same day, but later?
I've not spoken to him since. No,
you haven't. Well, I heard what you said earlier, but I'm going to ask you more directly. What does your gut say? Was he the real deal?
My gut says that that the core of what this guy says, that I think he is truthful. However, I think that the combination of many years and poor health I cannot avoid the possibility that there's some kind of what I would call confabulation going on. That is, this man is telling a story that he believes is true.
Right.
But that may not be 100% true. I mean, the fact is, I had his DD-214, so I had his military records, and I know he was in the military when he said he was. That I know. I don't know that he was contracted by the CIA because that wouldn't be in the DD-214 anyway. But I believe that he was. I believe that he received UFO data while he was there. But
okay.
Beyond that, it's just hard for me to know. One thing I want to point out is that 15 years earlier, he had a detailed interview with Linda Moulton Howe, researcher, when he was in much better health and much more lively. He said essentially the same story to Linda. And then and clammed up, he said, because he was threatened by men in black.
Wow.
And did not want to say more because he was afraid.
I got
so
you.
He backed away, and then according to what he claimed, he felt he was at the end of his life or near the end of his life, and he said, "The hell with it, I'm just going to talk."
Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling? Say hi to Richard Dolan.
Hi, Richard. Hi, Jimmy. This is Debbie.
Hi, Debbie. You made it in.
Yeah, I've been trying, but I got in.
Okay, all right. So I guess, Debbie, since you made the effort, let's just say we'll get you some Clifford.
I got a kick out of that. The fact that you even read it. I thought it was funny writing it, but I didn't know you was going to read it.
I was. So we'll get you some. We'll get you some Clifford Stone action in the mail to you.
Okay, I wanted to ask Richard a question too, if I could.
Go ahead.
First of all, Richard, I do appreciate your work. I love the fact that you base it on fact and lay the speculation aside, which most people don't seem to do. And I
Thank you,
respect
baby.
that.
Appreciate it.
I did want to ask, are you aware of any reports of large triangular craft in the early 60s along the East Coast?
Why would you ask that, Debbie? Let me ask you that.
Why?
Yes.
Because I saw one.
Okay. What part of the East Coast?
It was off the coast of Delaware, between Delaware and New Jersey, and it was over the Delaware River. Now, when we first saw it, this was like 1963, to the best of my recollection. And when we first saw it, we thought it was a squadron of jets on its way to Dover Air Force Base, which is about 40 miles south of us, something like that. And, we saw jets all the time. It was no big deal. We thought that's what it was. And it was just red lights flying in a V-shaped formation. And it was like, hey, guys, get in the car and follow it. Well, if I were to make that journey today with the roads that are much wider, no longer a drawbridge over the canal, but a 4-lane super bridge over it, it would still take me probably 25 minutes to get to where we went. Then it had to take longer because they were smaller roads. But the entire time we were on the road going to it, it was still there, moving very, very slow.
So, but Debbie, did it turn from red lights into a black triangle? It wasn't a formation anymore. It was just one object.
Well, here's the thing. I don't know, honestly. I didn't think to look up to see if it blocked the stars, but I have flown planes, and I know that, the different colored lights on each wing tell you the direction the plane is moving, if it's coming toward you or flying away.
Right.
This had nothing but red lights. There were no other colored lights on it. And the red lights, the red lights stayed in the triangle formation, and it was large. Now, the upper part of Delaware River is very narrow. You could almost jump across it, but where we saw it was at least 2 to 3 miles wide. And this thing stretched from the Delaware coast to the Jersey coast. And it was absolutely quiet. Yes, it was absolutely quiet. There were no engine sounds. And like I said, 25 to 30 minutes at least, we were watching it move. And jets don't fly that slow. So we don't know what it was, and it just glided like it was just following Delaware River right on down to Delaware Bay.
Hey, Debbie, thank you.
When I think back, anything I can understand is it was one big craft.
Thank you for the call, Debbie, and check your mail. I'll talk to you, Debbie.
Right.
Thank you,
Have
Debbie.
a happy New Year.
You too,
Happy
Debbie.
New Year to both of us.
I'll just very quickly reply to that, since she was so nice in describing her sighting. I had not known specifically, at least offhand, of early 1960s U.S. East Coast triangles. However, they're not simply David Marler, who wrote a book I published, Triangular UFOs, which is at Richard Dolan Press, but there is a researcher named Victor Keene back 20 years ago who did a project called Project Triangle. It was a collection of triangular UFO reports, and his database, I know, went back to the 1950s, early 60s. I think a lot of them were Britain. I think he was English, but there are good triangle reports going right back to the period of time that Debbie's talking about. Someone was flying triangles back in the early 60s and prior. That I would say confidently, based on the reports that we have.
Yeah, Dave Marler had that one fantastic incident from 1967, which I thought was just absolutely incredible.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
He interviewed that gentleman. There was someone involved in that at great length. And that's right. David was such a responsible researcher. He's such a careful guy, and has one of the best UFO libraries of anyone in the country, by the way.
Still one of my favorites. One of my favorite shows we did this year on Faded Black was David Marler. Absolutely incredible.
He's awesome.
Hi, you're live on Faded Black. Say hi to Richard Dolan. Who's calling?
Hello, Richard Dolan. This is Bear from Santa Clara.
Hey, Bear.
And my question is I think the Phoenix Lights is probably, in my mind, the most obvious outright deliberate disclosure scenario that they could do. And I was wondering what your opinion was on that. And then I got a follow-up question for Jimmy.
Okay. Hey, well, give me the follow-up question real quick. I'm going to try to line up these calls. They are backed up, and I don't want to take up too much of Richard's time. What's the follow-up question?
Follow-up question is, everybody out there have a safe, sane, happy New Year to all the Patronauts and everybody, and that includes you, Richard.
Thank you.
Okay. And, I just want everybody to be just really careful out there because it gets pretty crazy. I'm staying home.
Thank you, Bear. Bear's the bright spot in my day, Richard. You have no idea. All right.
I'm going to try and stay out of the poop, so everybody be safe, be well.
I'll give a quick lowdown on the Phoenix lights on my take, and I'm sure we're running out of time. It's almost midnight here, and I'm sure we're about to wrap it up. But when we talk about the Phoenix sighting of March 1997, we're talking about what are two types of events. One is the daytime event, where many witnesses saw an absolute clear-cut triangular. Sometimes it was described as a wedge shape, but generally triangular object, large one, that went down from the north, down south, across the state of Arizona, down toward Phoenix. And many people saw this, including the governor of Arizona, Fife Symington, and many, many others. That, to me, is, I think, very, very well documented. Unfortunately, it was not photographed or video recorded. And then you have the nighttime sighting, which everyone has seen, of the string of lights that's enormous. I don't know what to make of that. I mean, I've talked with Jim Dilatoso about these. Jim lives in Phoenix. He's done a great deal of photometric analysis of those lights and has argued repeatedly that the lights do not, they are not lights indicative of any other types of known, whether they're flares or any types of aerial objects. He's got a whole database of these, of light configurations and light patterns and so forth. And he says these lights don't match any of that. So that's one thing. There are other people who have a different opinion about those lights and that they argue that they are flares. My take is I don't know definitively that those lights are a genuine UFO phenomenon, although my instinct, my feeling is that they probably are. In fact, this is my current conclusion. I wrote about this in UFOs for the 21st Century Mind. So my current provisional conclusion is that yeah, this is not explainable in any kind of military way.
Yeah, I definitely think the first incident that went from Phoenix down to Tucson, that was definitely something crazy. That was a really
actually seen as north as Henderson, Nevada.
That's right. And so, but to have both incidents happening in the same day was one perpetrated to maybe cover up the first incident.
Some have I have theorized that, and I've wondered about that myself. Like, was the night sighting simply kind of a false flag, as it were?
Yes,
an operation. But I don't know. I mean, it doesn't. It still seems like it might be a genuine event as well.
You know what's funny is I was there that night, and when I got back to Los Angeles, Richard, I walk into my condo down in Sherman Oaks, and I drop my bags. I'm exhausted. I've been traveling all week, and I grab the remote control, get my senses. I've been gone for a week, and I'm turning on the lights and I turn on the TV, boom, it's the evening news showing that in Phoenix. And I was just there an hour before. And I was all over Phoenix that day, hanging out and doing my thing. And I didn't see or hear, nobody else talked about it. I missed the entire event, and I was there. And that's the truth. I got back here and it just kills me that I missed it, but I did. And what the stranger part was, nobody else mentioned it. Like somebody else coming in the office going, "Man, we just saw something outside." No, nothing like that occurred. And I was right there, and I could not believe it. I stood there dumbfounded, but I actually missed it. So, Well, hey, listen, thank you so much, man. Thank you so much. What's really quick before I let you go? Number one, it's Richard Dolan Press. All the books are available there.
Everything's there.
The links are up, of course, at jimmychurchradio.com.
Articles I've written, YouTube videos, all of it.
Where are you speaking next? What's going on?
I'm going to be in Phoenix in about a week and a half at the weekend of January 9th, 10th. I think I'm speaking on the 10th, if that's a Saturday, for Phoenix MUFON, run by two very good dear friends and colleagues of mine, Stacey Wright and Jim Mann. They're having me out on, I think it's January 10th. I'm speaking there. I come back to Phoenix, or at least the environs of Phoenix, for the International UFO Congress, which is at the end of February. I'll be there for a whole week. I'll be in L.A. Before that at the Conscious Life Expo. I'm trying to remember when that is. I think that's early February. So I'll be in your neighborhood.
Yep, I'll see you there. We'll all be there for that.
I'll be there, and I do some other travel. I'll be at the Ozark UFO Festival in Northwest Arkansas in, I think that's April. And I'm not going to get into any details, but I'm working on a project that is very much exciting me and taking a lot of my intellectual energy and passion, and I'll be talking more about that as I get some more progress on it.
Are you going to Contact in the Desert? I'll see you there, right?
Oh, well, yeah, but that's next summer, right?
Oh, yeah, that's May.
Joshua Tree.
Yeah, it's 5 months away, man. It's like a blink of an eye.
Well, I didn't realize it's coming so soon. I'm on very good terms with
Victoria.
With everyone, Victoria, who runs it, and I know she wants me back, but I didn't realize it's May.
Yeah, it's
Holy
May.
smokes, I better clear the decks.
Oh, and then, of course, you and I are on Hangar 1 this year.
You're on there too? Yeah. I shot for that.
Yeah, so hopefully that's it's supposed to be out in January, but they haven't given me a date. Have they given you a date yet?
I have no idea.
Exactly.
I shot both of the seasons. Each time I shot for them, I was an all-day event. For season 1, I shot for them, I think, for like 8 hours, and I was on all 6 of those episodes, or however many they had, 8 episodes, 6 episodes. And then for season 2, they're doing 12 episodes. I spent like 11 hours just in front of a camera in one day, and I think I shot 9 episodes.
I did the same thing, man. I did the same thing, marathon, and I was like, man, how much? I was like, can I go pee? Can I do? It was, but it was a lot of fun. And this next season, I don't want to give anything away, neither do you, but there's some really good cases, and it's going to be a really exciting season.
I think they had some good producers involved, and I was gratified that I was asked, my genuine consulting opinion on some of these cases before they actually decided. I didn't get a consultant fee or anything like that, but I did.
But first class organization out there, and how they do it and how they treat it, and it's a very serious game face when it comes to Hangar 1 and that production.
Yeah, I think so. I think they've got a very good team out there for sure.
I'll be talking to you real soon. Thank you so much, Richard. Have a great tomorrow night's New Year's Eve. Be safe. Do everything I would do. Just don't get arrested. All right?
I'll do my best. I can't promise, but I'll do my best.
I'll talk to you soon. I'll bail you out. Call me. I'll talk to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard.
Good night.
Good night. Richard
Happy
Dolan. Yeah, you too, man. Richard Dolan, everybody. Thank you so much. And with that, I am going to take a quick break. Thank you, Richard. Let me do a couple of clicks here. Calls are still lined up. And you know what? I'll get to them all. And we are still giving away a stack of stuff here to first-time callers. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Bespoke radio for the masses, only on the Dark Matter Radio Network. I'll be back right after this. Stay with us.
Hi everybody, this is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? My name's Brian Taylor, Ninja Badass Extraordinaire, and this is JimmyChurchRadio.com. JJCR, in your face.
JimmyChurchRadio.com.
On the Dark Matter Radio Network.
Oh, yeah. Welcome back. Fade to Black. Only on the Dark Matter Radio Network. All right. I'll answer the calls in order. Relax. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Thank you, Richard Dolan. And getting late out there in New York, man. And it's so cool that he hung out with us tonight. Thank you so much for that. And follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. That's what you want to do. Hashtag DMRadioNet. And let's bang through the calls. They're all lined up here. Let's go to the first one. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling? Where are you calling from? You're live right now.
Oh, this is Ryan in Iowa.
Ryan in Iowa. First-time caller?
Yep. First-time caller.
All right. Hold on. Let me get this
and
done.
I just missed Mr. Dolan. I wanted to ask him about the Washington UFOs back in the 50s. I just missed it. You guys keep beating me to the punch on all these good questions.
Well, hey, Ryan, I appreciate the call. And I'll say this. You're a first-time caller. We had the calls were just back to back to back to back, and I couldn't get to them all. And I kind of did the sneak attack on Richard at the bottom of the hour. We're going to take some calls tonight, and I'm sorry we couldn't get everybody in. But so what's going on, man? What were you going to ask Richard?
Oh, what his thoughts were about the Washington UFOs that flew over Washington, D.C.
Oh,
back in the 50s.
yeah.
You know, anytime you look it up on the internet, they just show you the picture and a brief description, but nobody's ever gotten into detail, you know, especially on the internet and whatnot.
You know,
I'm not looking at the right sites.
Yeah, one of the best things that you can actually do for that, there's a movie, I think it's called UFOs Are Real. It was done in the mid-50s, and it's done in a documentary style. But what they did do is they broke down that entire sighting and the radar and how it played out word for word. And it's a pretty cool thing to go and watch. I think that's what it's called. Somebody will post it in Twitter. But I think it's called UFOs Are Real. And it's
UFOs Are Real.
I think so. I think so. And yeah, I'm with you on that. That sighting, and when you look at the one or two pictures that are out there on the web, some are a recreation, but I think one of the photographs is an actual shot of the Capitol with, I think there's 15 UFOs in the background.
It made like the front page of the newspaper down there. That, you know, I've seen that picture where it was on the front page of their newspaper, and you know, it just seems like a really significant, you know, thing that happened. And it really, you know, gets talked about.
Right. Now, hold on, Ryan. Just let me write this down here. Okay, had to get my notes together. How long have you been listening to Fade to Black?
6 months. About 6 months. Me and my little one, Majestic. He's probably a young fader not out there. So
yeah, right on. I'm glad that you're with us, and it's a first time call. Any other questions before I let you go?
Oh no, I'm nervous and pumped up. I got to talk to Jimmy Church.
Oh, stop,
Big
man!
Black.
It's all
Love
good.
it.
It's all good. What part of Iowa do you live in?
Oh, Cedar Rapids. You know, idiots out walking around Iowa.
Well, I'm sorry you missed Richard, man, but we'll get something in the mail to you. What I want you to do is just write Rita. You know what to do. And Rita at jimmychurchradio.com. Get her all of your information. I've got it written down here. And we'll put something really cool in the mail to you and kick off your new year.
All right. Great night. Happy New Year.
Yeah, you too, Ryan. Thank you, man.
Yep. Bye.
And with that, I'm opening up the phone lines. 323-825-5045. First-time callers. Let's see. That goes to Ryan, so we'll take that out of the pile. We'll take this out of the pile. I've got, for first-time callers, I've got a really cool Clifford Stone Freedom of Information Act, all of his documents on one CD sent to us from Clifford Stone himself. I've got a Bridgewater Triangle documentary. I've got Patricia Corey's The Emissary, and I also have the Roswell. What's it actually called? It is called Alien Crash at Roswell by Jesse Marcel. That's actually autographed too as well. So there you go. Phone lines are open. 323. Oh, look who's calling. 323-825-5045. I'll take everything in order. Let's go. Hi, Donna. How are you tonight?
I'm doing good. This is my 5,000th time calling.
You know, I looked you up earlier. It was a couple of days ago. And hold on. I'll tell you exactly how many times. And it's not that many. It's not 5,000. It's not. But I was like, yeah, look how many times Donna has called this year. Donna has called almost probably every show, almost. And I miss you when you don't. So what's going on? How was your Christmas?
Oh, I've been, under the weather, so that's why I haven't really been calling in or anything.
Why is that?
Oh, I had a virus. Then I had a hard time getting over that. I had allergies on top of it, and the weather's been pretty bad this year here.
So out of this year, really quick, Donna, out of the entire year, and I trust your opinion, what was your favorite show?
Oh, well, it was Halloween. It had to be Halloween.
Oh, that was great. You're talking about
the whole thing about, the guy that was at the cemetery.
Oh,
I just
yeah.
loved
That was great. And the howl, the spooky yell that came out into the phone. That was pretty trippy.
Yes, that was great.
And Shaw was amazing. Shaw was. We got to get Shaw back on the show. The witch.
Yes, she was one of my favorites too.
We got to get her back on. So, any before I let you go, any resolutions for the new year?
Oh no, just to keep on going. That's my biggest thing for the year is just to keep going, survive each day.
I'm glad the virus didn't get the best of you. You sound great.
Thank you. Before I go, one of the things I wanted to say is back in the 60s, I know I'm dating myself, but I'm old. In the 60s, there was a professor that I used to talk to who said that the Sumerian tablets were not the originals, that they were copies of older text. So you might want to tell Richard that because they're not originals. How could they have lasted 500,000?
Well, the majority of the cylindrical tablets, those were all. Hey, hold on. You're stay with us, Donna. Those were uncovered at one time.
The radio station.
Okay.
Yes,
I brought in
those cylindrical tablets were copies of other tablets that were approximately 500 to 600,000 years old.
Right.
And we have a history of that because the Christian Bible is not originally what we have. It was copies of copies of copies.
That's correct.
And that's what has, where it gets confusing is how they could be able to know what happened 500,000 years ago.
Well, what is the change dangling in the background?
My sister brought my dog in.
Donna,
sorry about that.
I'm just teasing you. You have a great, safe New Year. And
yes, and Happy New Year to everyone, and I will see you next year.
Thank you, Donna. All the best.
You too. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, let's go to the next caller. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling? Where are you calling from?
Oh, hi. This is Debbie. I'm calling from Montana.
Hi, Debbie from Montana. How are you? First-time caller?
Yes.
Wow. Hold on. Let me get this down. Okay, keep going, Debbie. What's your question tonight?
Oh, well, no, I don't know if I really have a question, but I was just going to say, I think I had talked to Rich Dolan like maybe a year ago on another radio station, and my dad was stationed in Maelstrom when we heard stories about all the stuff going on at missile silos.
Right. Do you remember it? Do you remember the talk going on back then, or did your dad tell you about it later?
My dad would go out to the missile sites, and then he worked out of the base for a while, and then he went to the missile sites, and he came home and was saying that he had people coming in saying that there was stuff buzzing the. I remember him saying they were buzzing the runway out of the base.
Wow.
And that they would have to send out planes and chase after them and whatnot.
Wow. And did he use the word like UFO, flying saucer? I mean, when you say something, things are buzzing the base, obviously he didn't say airplanes.
No.
And
no.
Did you?
He might have said object. He might have said UFOs. I'm trying to remember exactly what he said, though. What he called them.
And this was 1960. This was 1967.
Yeah, right around there and up to the 70s.
Yeah, happened a couple of times. Wow, that's absolutely amazing. Well, Debbie, what I want you to do is email Rita at jimmychurchradio.com and get her your information, and we'll put something in the mail to you.
Rita at
jimmychurchradio.com. Yeah, you can do it on the website. Yeah, you can go over to the website and just do it from there.
Okay.
But I've got it written down right here, so we'll look for your email.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Debbie. Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you, too.
We'll talk to you. Thank you so much.
Uh-huh. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hi, this is Stephen G. from Paw Paw, Michigan.
Stephen G., what is up, my brother?
Hey, man, good to hear you from one musician to another.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. In fact, I just want to let you know that if you came here right now, you'd think it would be October because we still have no snow on the ground.
Oh,
gotta love it. You gotta love it.
Well, you know what? Enjoy it while it lasts. You know what that means? You're going to have snow to like June next year.
I heard that. Hey, that first time call. Well, it's the first time I've gotten through to you, so that makes me a first time. I'm not a repeat offender, I guess.
Yeah, you're a long time fader, not first time caller. Great to finally hear your voice.
It's good to finally get through it, and I just love this show. Love this show. I was looking for an alternative when Art was taken off, and man, what an alternative! And I'm glad to hear that you're going to stay when he comes back, because now I'm never going to sleep again until I'm dead.
I know, right? Well, you know what I used to do?
Man, yeah, because I'm on Eastern time zone, so I have to stay up a bit to to catch a show, and it's worth it. It's worth it. I just love it.
Yeah.
So, Jimmy, here's my question. I don't want to take up all the time.
Sure.
Here's my question. I've been obsessed with this UFO thing. I'm 59 years old right now, and I've been obsessed with this since I was probably in my late teens. I did 2 college term papers on this. I did a presentation. Everyone's standing there looking at me like there's something really pressed off center with me. Back before this UFO thing, was a little bit more accepted than what it is today. But my question for you is, because you've been around this and around people, we came from, just recently from Foo Fighters to, abductions, crashes, and up to mutilations, and now with this base that you guys found off of Malibu,
right,
and all of this stuff, where do you think this is going? I mean, what's the next big thing in your mind where you think that this is going to go?
Well,
the direction that this UFO thing is headed.
I think that's a great and honest question. And what I have, I kind of felt this all along, and I knew that it was going to go in this direction. But what you can't avoid, just like when you look at sports, or you look at other things that society consumes a lot of. Well, right now, what we are consuming a lot of, and where our interest lies, and what we want the answers on, is, are we alone? And no matter what the government will try to do, they can't stop the thirst for answers in that area. And as long as the government or any government refuses to fess up or come forward or give us any of it, we're going to find it out for ourselves. And now that snowball has gotten so big and so huge to the point where, and I know you said you were 59 years old, so you know that 30 years ago, 40 years ago, it was maybe once a year there would be something on TV about ufologies. Exactly. And now it's 24 hours a day on multiple channels. Now we have...
And I love it.
Right. And we have the internet. And you know what? The public has spoken. The reason why there's all of that television and websites and books and documentary, the reason why is because we are demanding it. And I saw I saw it going in this direction.
It's one thing that I think is going to happen, and I have never heard anybody bring this up, is that now with the private sector being encouraged to, and they are going out there from different countries and different governments are traveling out into space, the United States government, who seems to be the big boy in suppressing everything, this is getting out of their ability to suppress everything. There's getting to be too many people traveling out there, and there's getting to be too much information brought back. Just for example, the photos that came from the moon from China, I think they broadcasted them for 5 days, and then they just shut them off, and we're not seeing any more of that. But the government can't control that. The United States government can't. They can't control what the private sector is doing, especially in other countries. So eventually, they're going to be handed their hat on this deal and shown the door for lying to us for so long. And that's just my personal opinion, what I think is going to happen, because I really think that they've lost the grip on their heavy hand on controlling this to the general public.
Well, that's exactly my point. And although you're preaching to the choir here, but you're also part of society. You're the one talking to me. You're the one that feels the same way that I feel. And there's an ebb and flow out there, and you can definitely see it going in one direction. You're right. It is completely spiraled out of their control. Back when, and I want you to think about this for a second. When you look back at the Roswell case, Roswell is something that is well documented in that. And what I mean by that is the original press releases went out. And then they tried to squash it, and they were successful in trying to squash it all the way up to the late 70s, early 80s. But they weren't able to completely keep the lid on it. But it was easier for them in 1947 to put the lid on it because there wasn't the multiple news outlets and things where things can propagate and just spiral out of control and go viral like things can do today. All right?
Back then, too, Jimmy, people trusted the government a lot more than what they do now.
Absolutely they did. And look, I'm a military brat, and when somebody said keep something secret, when, we had, the Soviet Union and the Cold War and just coming off of World War II and Nazis and spies and double spies and networks and everything that were all over the place back then, you had to keep your mouth shut. You had to keep your lights off on your house at night. There were blackouts and there was all of that. And you, the word I want to say, you listened, you obeyed, you did that. You're absolutely right. But those days are gone. And people don't have that same level of respect, and it's because the way that the government treats its citizens, they earned the way that we feel about them. 100%. What did you expect to have happen? When you do decades and decades of deception on so many different fronts. It doesn't matter if we're talking about ufology or we're talking about the JFK assassination or we're talking about how we got sucked into the Vietnam War, or all of these different things that have happened time and time again. Well, what did you expect? How do you expect us to feel today?
No kidding.
You know,
and you can, and how do you come out of after you've been lying about having your hand in the cookie jar since you were 3 years old, and now you're 50 years old and you're still lying about it? How do you finally go up to mom and dad and say, oh, by the way, mom and dad, I'm sorry for lying about all those cookies?
That's right. And what do you expect? You know, and
it's gone to the point to where everyone knows they're lying. They know that we know they're lying, and it's it's an interesting thing.
Well, you know, and the problem, Stephen, and thank you for the phone call. The problem is, it's not that we're going to freak out that ET is here. That's not the problem. The problem is we're going to be really pissed off because we were lied to for so long. That's where they're gonna. That's where they have to meet their maker. And you're absolutely right. Hey, Stephen, man, thank you. And you know how to get a hold of WoWo. Yeah, you know how to get a hold of WoWo. So go take care of business, and we'll put something in the mail to you.
Get a hold of who?
Rita.
Get a hold of who?
Rita.
Oh, Rita. Okay, yeah, I'll send it Rita at jimmychurch.com.
Or Jimmy Church Radio.
Jimmy Church Radio. Thanks, bud.
Thanks, Stephen G. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling? Where are you calling from?
Jim, I can't believe I got through. Are you kidding me? I can't believe I got through. Hey, this is Ron from Southern California. How you doing, Jim?
How you doing, Ron? What's shaking?
Oh, hey, I just calling to say Happy New Year and love your show, and appreciate all the guests you have on. And I'm sorry I missed Richard Dolan, but I really respect his work, and I heard of him, through Kerry Cassidy back with Project Camelot, and been following all this work for since about 2006, I guess. But it's been an interesting ride.
It's been a great year. We've been really lucky with our guests and the Fadernauts and the family and everything that's been built here. We're blessed. We know we got lucky but with all of the guests and everything and all the shows. But let me ask you this, Ron. Out of this year, here we are. This is it. This is the last show of the year. What was your favorite show of the year?
Oh gosh, oh man, that's a tough one, Jim. There's one that's on the tip of my head, my tongue, and I just can't think of it. It was not that long ago either. Gosh. I feel like an idiot. I can't think of it right now.
Don't be nervous. See, you're nervous. I can tell. I can hear your voice shaking.
You know what? I'm surprised I even got through. I really am surprised I got through. I wasn't expecting to get through, but I wish I was more prepared. To be honest with you, I really apologize for that.
That's okay. Hey, Ron, look, this is your time to shine. So let me I'll actually interview you for a second. All right, you ready?
No, don't.
Okay.
Please don't.
Have you ever seen anything that you can't explain up there in the sky? You ever have a sighting?
Well, if I did, I think it was back in like the early 70s. When I was at like a fireworks show out in the San Bernardino area, like the Altamoma area, and I was looking towards the east, out there towards Riverside, and I saw something zipping back and forth across the sky, and I don't know why. I think I've always had like an interest in UFOs for some reason since that point, I think, but I never really understood it. But I don't know, for some reason, just all of a sudden, like back in, I guess, 2009, my interest really peaked towards the UFO community. Really, I don't know why, but it just took off. And I started, the 2006, I just, something led me to Kerry Cassidy's Project Camelot with Bill Ryan.
Uh-huh.
And I started listening to all of her interviews with Bill Ryan, and I was fascinated. And now I've come on to you, and I'm just like, man, just so thankful that we have you out there to carry on this subject, because there's a lot of us out here that really want to know, and I hope it comes out. I really do hope it comes out publicly. I wish there was something I could do, to be honest with you. I wish, all this chemtrail stuff and I really wish there was something I could do to let the public know about all this stuff that the public's having to deal with that they don't even know about.
Well, just the courage of calling into this show and talking about it, that you're being, you're achieving your place in evolution of ufology. And always remember that, and I mean this. This goes back to the last couple of calls that just came in. It's it's not so much the belief of if we're alone. I'm just going to be straightforward. It's not about that anymore. I think we've all accepted the fact that there's no way that we're alone in this universe, and we have been visited for a long time. Not we might have been visited. No, we are being visited right now as you and I are sitting here talking. So it's not about that anymore. It's just about being told the truth. And what have you known, and when did you know about it, and what is it that you do know? And like Richard had said, it's about propulsion systems. It's about the betterment of humanity. Can we stop polluting this planet with the knowledge that you have now? What is it that you know, and why are you holding it back? It's not the question.
Right,
we're
right,
not,
exactly.
Yeah, we're not going to freak out and riot in the streets. No, we already know we're not alone.
Exactly.
Ryan, thank you.
Yeah, I wish they would, come forward and give us all the information that they have, because it's a planet here for all of us, And I was thinking to myself, just because you're born in a different part of the country doesn't give you rights to the oil. Like, this planet is here for all of us. So why don't we all share the technology and the resources and make it better for all of us?
Yeah, and you know what would really freak you out, Ron, right now? What if what we found out was that we are alone? That we are all that there is. Now that's a scarier thought, isn't it? Oh man, wouldn't that just bum you out? That would cause rioting in the streets. That's what would upset.
I really don't know, Jimmy. I think I've had some really strange things happen to me, and I don't think we're alone. I think that our government has tapped into these manufactured back engineered the technology from way back, and I think they're doing stuff up there that we should know about, but they're not going to let us know, and maybe someday it'll come out, but I don't know. Hopefully you'll be the one you'll be the tip of the spear, and hopefully you'll bring it out for all of us.
Thank you, Ron, for the phone call. Now go write Rita.
Hey, Happy New Year, buddy.
Happy New Year. Go write Rita. I've got it written down right here. We'll put something in the mail to you. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you, Jim.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. This is our last Fader night of the year. Who's calling?
Hey, Jimmy. It's Brian from New Hampshire. How are you, man? Happy New Year.
How are you, Brian?
Hey, I'm doing great. Hey, I just called to burst everybody's bubble, man. They can forget disclosure. I can't see it happen, and I want it as much as everyone else. Those people have committed so many laws that there's probably thousands of people subject to arrest, man. There's no way it's going to happen. I just don't see it. How do you see it?
I see it sort of like Richard Dolan paints his picture, and I'm in agreement with him. The disclosure, when it happens, will be out of their control. Okay, it'll be an incident that happens that forces. There is no question of disclosure at that point. It'll be some massive incident that happens, and it'll be documented, and it'll be on the evening news, and it'll stop traffic somewhere, and something's going to happen, and then it forces their hand. That's where disclosure is going to happen. I'm in agreement with you. If we keep screaming about it, that's not enough. That's not going to be enough to tip the hand. It's got to come from somewhere else, and that's
Yeah, I'm sorry, man. Go ahead.
Well, because I honestly feel that disclosure's already happened, and I'll throw it out to you, Brian. Do you think we're alone in the universe right now? Do you think we're alone?
Oh, unequivocally not.
Exactly.
Of course not.
Do you
But I
think?
have to
Well,
tell-
but let me finish. Let me finish. Do you think that we have been visited today? Today, not yesterday. I'm talking about in the last 24 hours. Do you think that there's something has visited this planet?
Oh, unequivocally, they're here now. They're not visiting. They're resident.
And that's my point. So disclosure's already happened. You're not alone. You're one of millions of people that think the same way that you do. So it's not that we need proof of disclosure. We just want proof that you've been lying to us so we can throw you out of office. That's what we need.
Think about it, Jimmy. It's not thrown out of office. They've put technology into the private sector. They've made billions, probably billions of dollars of profit. Never mind illicit fundraising that we all know has occurred. And potentially many people have been killed already.
Sure.
So, I mean, so this stuff's going to come out. They don't want it to come out, Jim. The only way it's going to come out is if we give them total immunity. That's how I see it happening. Without immunity, it never happens. And I want it to happen. And I'll tell you, this is going to sound, I don't know how it's going to sound bad, but I'm fairly well versed in the subject matter, and I try to educate people, so I'm coming out of the closet, so to speak. And I got to tell you, the less educated people they drink the Kool-Aid, they believe the government. The more educated the person I speak with, they're probably more open to the discussion. Yeah. But I can't get people interested. Very few people are interested. I mean, I listen to your program, and the Fade Nut's pretty interested. But generally speaking, people drink the Kool-Aid, I think, and it's very unfortunate.
Yeah, they do. Well, as long as we drink the Kool-Aid, then it deflects from everything else that is important to us that's going on around us. And that's what they want you to do, is just to run on that treadmill of life, get into debt, start paying interest on money that doesn't even exist. And your focus is going to work every day to pay the bills and then worry about the sports teams that are playing on the weekend and not worry about what is really important. And that's what they want. You're absolutely 100% correct in saying that.
It's very unfortunate. I mean, do you have kids that have gone to school yet?
Yeah, I've got 2 daughters in college.
Yeah, there you go. And we had people that wanted to allow refinancing of student loans at a lower rate, and they vote against it.
Yeah, right. I know, huh?
You know, we lend money to banks for low single digits, but you're going to pay almost 8% when you send your kids to college.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a crime. It's a lot of bad things. But hey, you kill us from the East Coast, man.
Thank you so much, man.
Man, we got to get you started an hour earlier or something, man. But hey, Happy New Year's. Thanks for what you do, and to the best to all the Fader Knots, man.
Okay, send an email to Rita, and I've got your information here, and we'll get something in the mail to you. Thank you, Brian.
All right. Thanks. Happy New Year, brother.
Happy New Year. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling? It's the last Fader night of the year.
And it is an amazing, wonderful night, and Happy New Year, my friend. This is Barrett from Memphis.
Barrett, how are you, sir?
I'm just fine. How the hell are you?
I'm doing fantastic. And I know you guys don't have snow. It's Memphis.
Oh, no, absolutely not. I'm still wearing flip-flops.
I remember when I lived in Memphis, one year it snowed, and there were like no snow plows in the city.
Oh, yeah.
They couldn't do anything.
Everybody went out and was snorting their driveway.
Yeah.
It was just,
it was
had
so.
no idea what was going on.
It was funny. The entire city, it was like they sent out this message: everybody stay home forever. We'll get back to you. But there's no snow plows.
It was trippy. I know. I had just moved down from New England, and I got down here, and I couldn't believe it. They said, we have no snow plows.
None.
We have no snow. None. It's not in our budget. And it's just, okay.
Yeah.
I've got hot cocoa. I'm good to go.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened, man. It was like so cool. The city shut down for like 3 days. That bled into the weekend. So the schools are closed. Nobody can go to work. That was it. It was just like, stay home.
It was awesome. It was awesome. Yeah. I'm actually thinking about going sailing this weekend. It's supposed to be pretty nice. So, yeah.
How was
Not bad. It really is. Go ahead.
What do you think about Richard Dolan?
I like him. You know, he's a pretty no nonsense guy, and you know, I think he's, you know, he does his homework, and he seems to have a pretty good beat on, you know, what he knows. He's got a pretty reasonable depth of knowledge, and I've always enjoyed listening to him. It's you could have him back, you know, once every couple of weeks. It would never get boring, ever.
Yeah, absolutely. The one thing that you know, just freaks me out about him is, first off, he's cool. I mean, he's a real cool guy. But the second thing is, he doesn't really want to hear the BS, and he's not going to repeat something that just doesn't feel right to him, and he will always stick to his guns. So when you see him speak and you hear him speak, you just want to just go along for the ride. You just want to absorb, because he's like a teacher in school. You know, when your teacher in school was teaching class, you were absorbing it no matter what that teacher told you. You just believed it because you respect the teacher. And that's where he's got that in spades.
He does. No nonsense, real straightforward, and he just knows what he knows. And you're right. He does not suffer fools.
No, you're right. You know, he could probably get pulled over, DUI, and just turn and look at the cop and start talking. The cop's going to go, you know what? All right, cool, man. All right, just go.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. It's all good, man. I believe everything that you just said, and that's the way that.
Hey, no, I'm sorry. That just reminds me. I've got a great cop friend of mine. I had just moved down here and made really good friends with one of the sergeants, or now a captain. But I love it because, you know, we're here. You know, you were in Bartlett. You know, we're right on the Mississippi border.
Right.
And he tells me, he says, you know, I pulled an old guy over the other day. I walked up to his window and I said, you got any ID? And he said, the guy looked at him real serious and said, ID about what? He said, I started to pee myself, and I said, just go.
Yeah, you
Go
know,
ahead.
one day off the air, I'll tell you a couple of stories that I have with the Bartlett police, and I'll just say this, that if you no matter what you do in Bartlett, I'm not speaking about Memphis in general, but everybody knows everybody there. And you know, there's probably 4 or 5 Bartlett cop cars, or at least when I lived there. I don't know, what is there, 10 now, whatever. But you see the same guys every single day, and they see you. So if you manage to get yourself pulled over, then they're going to come up to, they're going to go, okay, man, check this out, man. I'll follow you home. You know what I mean? Don't do it again. It was like that. It was a very small community. I'll share some stories with you offline. I don't want to get in trouble with the bar.
Just quickly, it took me about a month to realize I had to scrape off my Red Sox sticker off the back of my Jeep.
You know, that's
take
right.
Off my New England Patriots license plate thing. That had to come off because both of those got me stopped in the first month.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Because they look at it and they go, oh, yeah, you're not from around here. No. Yeah. So, anyway.
Oh, I did the same thing.
Well, I just wanted to say on my favorites this year, I think Levada was, great. And Mars, I can never, ever get enough of Jim Mars.
Yep.
You know, I mean, he's the guy you want to bring on a camping trip and just sit down and shut the hell up and let him talk.
Yep. And he's like that. He's like that in person. You can ask any fader not that's met him and stuff. He is the real deal, and he is just like what you think. on this show is who he is in person. He's just a really cool dude. Real cool dude. We'll always take the time to sit and just chat. He's a really cool guy.
Love it.
So
love it. And I got to say, I got such a kick out of Chase.
Oh, Chase is the best.
Oh man. And I mean, the story in the field, and I actually sprung up, and I was sitting on the edge of my seat. I said, really? She told such a great story with such energy, and she just seems to be so real. So
exactly, I got to get Chase back on.
I haven't heard anybody mention her, but I think she was terrific.
Oh, people still talking about Chase right now. That was a really, 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 really great show. And I can't wait to get her back on. We got to do it again real soon. Hey, Barrett, you have a great, safe, fun New Year. And like I always say, do everything I would do. Just don't get arrested. All right?
Absolutely. Namaste, and God bless you, my friend. Take care.
Thank you, Barrett. Barrett from Memphis. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. This is the last Fader night of the year. Who's calling?
Hey, it's Rick from Seattle. How you doing, Jimmy?
Hey. How are you, man?
Oh, I'm doing good. Got the house kind of in order. Got internet back.
Okay.
So
and
I can listen. Yeah.
Yeah, man. You guys are all moved in, all settled in?
For the most part. Mostly, if I have internet back so I can listen to the show.
Oh, right on, man. How's the family?
That's what I'm most happy about. Everybody's doing good. So far so good.
Good Christmas?
And yeah, it was low key. It was mellow. It was great. First Christmas I got to spend with my dad in about 15, 16 years.
Oh, right on, man. That's what I'm talking
It was
about.
definitely awesome.
That's what I'm talking about. Well, go ahead. You called me. I haven't talked to you in a while, so it's great to hear your voice, my friend. What was your favorite show of the year?
It's been easily like a month. Oh, man. It's such a really tough call. And, of course, I'm drawing a blank. I mean, there were a couple of interesting shows. I don't know if they're favorites. They were inflammatory.
Okay.
Folks in the sandbox know what I'm talking about. We'll be PC and we'll be nice.
Okay.
But I just want to say congratulations for 1 year. And thank you for the show. On behalf of all the Fadernauts, I'm sure everybody would like to say thank you to you and Rita. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Rick. And again, it's all about you guys. And, I'm humbled. Thank you so much.
Oh, no problem. And also, everybody who's listening, I have one request at midnight tomorrow night. Take a Beckley Tepe and take your shot at midnight.
Oh, man.
The drinking game must not die.
Oh, thank you so much, Rick. Behave. Hey, say hi to everybody up there for me, and have a great, safe New Year's Eve tomorrow night. Thank you, brother.
No problem. And also, I've been grabbing so many listeners for you. It's insane. There's actually a lot of interest in the subject up here. It's really refreshing.
It is. Seattle is a very unique part of the country, and I can't say enough for that. So I love Seattle, and you're absolutely right. Bunch of free thinkers up there, and I mean that. Thank you, brother. Have a great, safe New Year's. I'm going to grab one more call before I get to Les. Thank you, brother.
Cool, man. Take it easy.
Bye, Rick. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling? The last call of the year is you.
Hi, Jimmy. It's Carola in Okotoks, Alberta.
Hey, how are you, Carol? You're going to be the last call of the year.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, so make it.
I just want to say.
go.
I just want to say, everybody, 2014 was a year of changes, and if we could just harness our inner vision to make all the changes in 2015 be working out for the highest good of all concerned. And bless you all.
Thank you so much, Carol.
Have
a great, safe, fun night tomorrow night. And just like Rick just said, midnight, go Beckley Tepe.
Go Beckley Tepe.
I'll talk to you. Thank you, Carol.
Thank you.
Carol from Alberta. Hey, Les.
Hey, Jimmy. How's it going?
It's going great, my brother. We made it.
Just made it. Just like the first time I called in. Got my hat just under the door like Indiana Jones.
Oh, we got through this year, man. Can you believe it?
Actually, yes, I can. It's a great show with a great audience, the Fadernaut family, and I can't believe it's the end of 2014 and the beginning of the new one. But man, this year has flown by.
It is. I can't believe it. I really can't. And I was watching the interview and the underlying story, and I think, you know what? I have a bunch of calls lined up here, but Dino, I think that is you calling in. So if that's Dino, Dino's got to get in here, and I'll try to get to Dino and let him join us for these last couple of minutes. But anyway, I'm watching the interview, and I don't know if you've seen it, but the whole point of the show is 10 years, 1,000 shows, right? That's how the movie starts off. And I'm thinking to myself, we did 100 and I think we're at 180.
It was in 190.
Yeah, something 180. See, I don't even know. It's like 180, 190 shows this year. That's insane. That's absolutely insane.
Better than the last.
Okay, let me see here. Hold on. Is this Dino? Dino?
Yes.
Okay, Dino, you're on with Les.
Okay, hi, Les. How you doing? How you doing? So happy to hear you. I just want to say briefly, I didn't get to Richard, but I'm sitting here on a freezing, cold, windy night on the coast. Whatever's changing the climate, I wonder when that technology is going to help us, because that's what I think about. I work a damn job, 40 hours a week. I'm not getting any younger. If we could have a better life through disclosure, through even just releasing a bit of this technology instead of all for military. So I'm thankful for your show. You can't be a slacker, and you can't be someone who's weak of heart. You have to learn new things and study, and your show helps. And it's all about being a patriot and being an American. We have to demand our rights. They're being taken away. And everything about your show speaks of democracy, speaks of higher mind, and I'm just thankful for the 15 core Fadernauts, and I won't mention their names, and I'm thankful for the guests, and I hope Dan Aykroyd can get on, and Charles Hall and the Tall Whites next year.
Gino, we're thankful for you being in the Fadernaut family, my brother. We are very
all of it.
for you.
It's a team.
Yeah. Well,
absolutely,
we're
man.
we're very grateful to have you. We really are. We love having you.
What was your favorite show this year, Dino? And don't say Mike Barra.
I really can't say. I mean, anything that's got Richard Dolan, Kerry Cassidy, I'm in love with. You go down the line. You even get these obscure people that I never heard of, and then I learn new bits of knowledge that's not BS. They're all favorites.
Oh, you're being a politician.
I'm not. I'm a Libra like you. I can't decide.
Okay, all right.
It's all good, Jimmy.
I'll go with that. Les, what was your favorite show this year?
I told you last week, man. It was Bob Schroeder.
Oh yeah, Bobby. Yeah. That's still high on my list. And somebody asked me about that yesterday. Oh, it was on Future Theater. They asked me about that yesterday, and it's kind of funny. All this year, I had so many people ask me this year, and I don't know. And if Bobby Schroeder comes to mind, then that is the show. And I don't want to take anything away from any other guest or so many shows, because they were each one had some crazy thing that happened, or some enlightenment that happened. But that Bobby Schroeder show stopped me dead in my tracks. And so I guess, it's kind of weird. I hope everybody goes back and listens to that show, because that show was singular, man. It just stands out.
Well,
I sent that one out at least a couple of times this week.
What's that?
Go ahead, Dino.
Dino?
I just said Olav wasn't bad either.
No, Olav, and this is what's funny about Olav. We, I knew this going in with him, there are so many different subjects that we can go deep on with him. But what you have to do with somebody like Olav is you need to pick one subject and go long. That's what you do. You go long. You throw the bomb. You don't want to do 5 or 10 different subjects and then scratch the surface on them. That's not what you do. And so with Olav, it's definitely he's got he's got a ticket that he can punch probably 6 times next year here on Fade to Black.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, guys,
Well, that's what we're doing for.
Okay, guys, we got to roll on out of here, man. This is it. We got
to start you earlier next year. We got to start you an hour earlier so the East Coast and the Englanders and all can hear you. We got to work for that.
Jimmy?
Dino, you're drinking. You're drinking
no,
already.
I'm not. I'm just freezing from the wind. My throat is dry from the cold. My house was 55 degrees when I got home.
Hey, did you get the text that I just sent you, Les?
No, I did not.
Okay, read your Skype.
I'm not on Skype, dude.
Oh, you're not. Okay, so then let me do the front part of this. I'll do the front part.
Before you start, I just wanted to say thank you very much, Jimmy, for letting me be part of this family and for letting me do what I do.
Thank you, Les. Thank you, Les.
Appreciate it.